There we are. One of these days, I'm going to get these buttons worked out. Welcome, everybody. We're getting started a bit early here. I'm going to have about 15 minutes of chat here before we get going to catch up with all my friends. So how are we doing, everybody? Hey, Cy Pigeon, welcome. Glad that you're here, man. Good to see you again. Thanks for being at Zoom this week. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your being there, your consistency. Hey, Ben, welcome. Ben Bigwood, welcome, buddy. How you doing? We are early birds. It's okay. No one's going to miss anything. We're just chilling out here for a sec, and then I'm going to get going. I got some Alan Watts for you today. Big surprise. Yeah, down under. Welcome, Australia. My friends in Australia. Someday I will see you. Someday. Hey, Black Deathkiss. Oh, you got a little kitty on there. Nice. Is that a little kitty? Looks like a little kitty. I like cats. Nice. What's up, Jay? Welcome, buddy. Ready to do this? Yeah, got a little guitarist here in the house. Nice. Mike, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. I've enjoyed my email exchanges with you this week. It's been great to hear from you and talk to you. It's been great. Thank you. Hey, Nikki. How's it going? Welcome. Nikki Nizzy 6. Nice. I like it. Seriously? Is she a 30-year-old cat? I didn't know cats live that long. That's amazing. Did not know that. Hi, Twilight Mist. Welcome. Hello. Nice. We can all have a jam. That'd be awesome, Jay. I would love to rock out some Led Zeppelin with you, dude. You know, funny that you mentioned that, Jay. I had this idea years ago, and I think this would be a great idea to do, but to do a musical collaboration. And so my thought was, like, I would pick out a song that I could play. And then whoever, like I would need a couple of guitarists, a bassist, maybe a vocalist. I definitely share in vocals with the vocalist. I could definitely do some background. I'd cover drums and maybe a keyboardist. And we could jam some Led Zeppelin. So my thought was this. I would pick the song out, and then I would play it. Typically in a recording studio, the first thing that gets laid down is the drum track. So I would lay down the drum track, and then whoever wanted to be a part of it, I would send you the music. I'd send you the track, and then you play, your piece. So whichever you're playing, lead or rhythm guitar, whatever, bass, whatever, you would then play your style and submit your own video. So whatever video you wanted to put up as a part of the collaboration, you would submit to me. And then I would take all the videos and all the different tracks, guitars, keyboard, bass, and all stuff, and I'd mix them down. And then I would take all your videos and I would put them on like a 4 square or 5 square, whatever, on the screen. And then we could just make music together. How awesome would that be? And you could be in anywhere in the world because we wouldn't be tracking at the same time. So we could literally lay down, your own tracks at your house, and you were happy with your play, like how you did, and then just send it to me. And then because you'd have the original tune, everything would be in time, and I could just sync it up here to timecode or whatever, just sync it up digitally, and then mix it down, and we could have our own little band. How sweet would that be? I totally have thought that through, Jay. I totally thought if you want to do it, dude, I would totally do it with you, man. And all we would need is, like I said, another guitarist or two. I'm thinking a lead guitar and a couple rhythm guitars. And then I'm thinking like a bass and keyboards. And like I said, I cover drums. And then I could cover a little bit of vocals. And then whoever else wanted to do vocals, we could do that. Totally, dude. And we could just totally lay it down, man. I mean, it would be so freaking insane. How insane would that be? To develop a band out of a chat room, dude. That would be awesome. I had a guy write me, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he told me that he was this professional slide guitarist. We could definitely use a slide guitar too. Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry about your ice storm. I've been in a few of those. I lived in Nashville for 5 years, and we had a few ice storms. And hang in there. You'll be okay. Hang in there. You'll be okay. Make sure you've got, that's one of the things I made sure I had was a wood burning stove. So you're not dependent on electricity to heat your house. That was one of the things that I had to learn the hard way. Don't we all? Hello. Thank you. Hi, Jibs. Hello. Hi, Fortune. What's going on, Fortune? Fortune, do you play a musical instrument? I'm curious if you play music, Fortune. Hey, Linda, what's going on? Heck yeah. Nice. Nice. We could put a band together, man. It'd be awesome. It would be outstanding. Mel, I'm so sorry about whatever you're going through. We missed you at Zoom, love. And you're always welcome there. And I'm really sorry for whatever it is that you're going through, what you're going through. I had a couple of people contact me, wanted to reach you. Namely, Fortune wanted to reach you. So if you could connect with Fortune, she wanted to reach out to you. And there were some other people in Zoom that were trying to reach you. So for what it's worth, Mel, we care. We absolutely care about you, love. Heck yeah. You did. We were just talking about putting together a band off the chat. I mean, that would just be the most radical thing. I'm still practicing Stoicism, now exploring Gnosticism. Would love to watch any videos you have on it. I haven't written any, or I haven't done any videos on either of those. I would, though, be curious, Eldana. I'd love to have a conversation with you on Zoom on Gnosticism. I really would. There are a lot of people I have write me that are curious about Gnosticism. And so it would be great to have a conversation with you about it. I would like to know more about it because what I know about it is not so appetizing. So I would certainly love to hear what you have to say about it if you want to come to Zoom. We have a Zoom meeting. For those that don't know, we have a Zoom meeting every Friday at 1 o'clock Seattle time. And anybody can come. And it's just a time for a concentrated form of the group to gather together. And you're able to talk directly with me and we can have conversations together if you wish. We can have conversations together if you wish. And I'm happy to answer your questions. That's why I do it. I do the meeting on Fridays in the same theme as a university instructor, having sort of like a side class or a get together for students that are interested in the subject matter that the class is covering. And so that's what we do on Zoom. And so this last week, we had a bit of a discussion on the realities of our current situation, our current plight, so to speak, as human beings, and where we're at as far as the awakening, the Great Awakening is concerned. So we had some good words about that. It was a good time. Yeah, absolutely. Big hugs to Mel. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? My band idea is awesome. If we do a mixtape, I'll do Kazarian Mafia diss track. That would be greatness. That would be greatness. Here we go. You play bass, Fortune? Hell yeah. Do you really? That's fantastic. That would be fantastic. Can you play Led Zeppelin? If you can play Led Zeppelin, heck, man, you're in the band. You're in the band. It really would be sweet. It would be amazing. I have so many great ideas like that. It would be so awesome. Hello, Miss Redhead. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Mythological muse, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I have some thoughts about that weather system and what really is going on. It definitely helps contain certain individuals, but I'm not going to open up that can because I don't feel like getting political tonight. I hate politics. Hello, Fly Socks. I'd rather talk about music and making music and bands. I should probably just shut my phone off. Here, I'm going to put up Do Not Disturb. There we go. Come on. There. We won't get interrupted anymore. Right on, Side Pigeon, dude. That'd be awesome. Be awesome. Yeah, I don't either. I have to get my drum kit. I sold everything years ago because I didn't have any money or don't have any money. So yeah, I'll get back into it though. I can be back to speed in a few weeks. No problem at all. Seriously, dude, Fortune, you're a full-blown musician. That is awesome. Had no idea. Had no idea. Bring the ukulele. Yes. We could definitely use that. What is that song that starts with the ukulele by Led Zeppelin? Walk the Nile alone. I can't remember the name of that song. I gotta think of it. Yeah, definitely. Our hearts are with Melissa today. Okay. I'm glad you caught that. Glad you caught that. What's up, King? Good to see you, buddy. We're going to get going here with Alan in about 1 or 2 minutes. And then he's on until the top of the hour. And then I'll be joining you guys just after 5. It'll be great. I got a good talk for you guys tonight. And I've been working on it all week. I actually I'm not kidding. I just finished the slides today. And I'm really excited. What's really good is in the initial point, we're going to be talking about what the realization was of the Buddha under the Bodhi tree and how he released from anxiety. We're going to be focusing a bit on anxiety tonight as we get started because we didn't get to that last week. And I know that there's a lot of folks that watch my show that are filled with anxiety or have a lot of anxiety. I hear from you from time to time in emails, and my heart goes out to you. And so my hope is tonight that you will get sort of a leg up on your anxiety, that you will begin a process of releasing that will release you from the anxiety. Yes, we're getting the band together, Craig. We're going to do it. We're going to absolutely do it. I'm going to absolutely do that. I'm going to absolutely do that. That's great, bro. That's fantastic. I'm glad my work resonates with you. That's fantastic. Nice. My daughter is beside me. Nice, Linda. So I might come back tomorrow to check. Waves in. Sweet. Go be with your daughter, please. She's a lot more important than me. That's for sure. That's for sure. And I like your pup. Your pup is great. That's it. Thank you. The song remains the same. Thank you. Thank you. That's the one. Definitely need a ukulele for that. Sweet. Can you imagine this band we put together off chat? It'll end up being like 30 people. Funny times. I don't think it's going to California, but it might be. It might be. I think it's the song that remains the same. It's the one. I think that's the one. Yeah, my wife played tambourine. Sweet. Greatness. She's a big fan of Stevie Nicks. Jenny loves Stevie Nicks. What's not to like about Stevie Nicks? I'll bring my clarinet. Sweet. Yes. Yeah, we'll keep it real. Bagpipes. Very good. Okay, now this is interesting. Not anxiety or fear, just feel unseen. Mythological Muse, I'd love to talk to you about that at Zoom. I wish you guys would bring this stuff up at Zoom. We could have some really great conversations. True. True. Very true. Yeah, you for sure. For sure. Release. Yes, it can. You're exactly right, King. Anxiety can be beaten in moments. The now is all that matters and the only thing that's real. I've been reminding myself of being present in the now a lot lately. Way to go, King. Love to hear it, buddy. Okay, let's get going with some Led Zeppelin. Sorry, let's get going with some Alan Watts. I'm going to get the video going. It's about 20 minutes. Do you do it or does it do you? And this is a great lecture from the late 70s. I'll be watching with you guys. And yeah, he's going to open the door on some good subject matter. So let me get this up and running here. And I'll see you guys at, let's see, which one is it? Openers in, 10 week 14 intro. I think it's this one here. I'll see you guys at 5 o'clock. We'll get rolling.
I wonder if it's ever struck you how curious a thing it is that most of the things that we experience we regard as things that happen to us, which we ourselves do not originate, which are events expressing some sort of power or activity that is external to ourselves. And if you consider that, you realize that what you mean by yourself is rather narrowly circumscribed. Even events that go on in our own bodies are put in the category of things that happen to us in the same way as things that go on in the world outside our skins. If there's a thunderstorm or an earthquake, well, it happens to you. You're not responsible for it. But so in the same way, when you have hiccups, you didn't plan on it. If you have belly rumbles, you had no intention of doing it. And as to the catastrophic act of getting born, well, you had nothing to do with that. And you can spend all your life blaming your parents for putting you in the situation in which you find yourself. And this way of looking at the world in this sort of passive mood, as something that happens to you, goes right down to our general feeling about life. It goes down to the way in which, as Westerners, we have been accustomed to look at human existence as a precarious event in the cosmos that, on the whole, is depicted as being completely unsympathetic and alien to our existence. In other words, if you're reared with a 20th century, or shall we say an early 20th century common sense, which is based on the philosophy of science of the 19th century, with its rejection of Christianity and Judaism, you regard yourself as an accident, a biological accident, in a stupid universe, which is mechanical, but has no feelings, no finer feelings. A vast, pointless gyration of radioactive rocks and gas in which you happen to occur. Of course, if you don't have that point of view and you are more traditional, you look upon yourself as a child of God. And therefore, under authority. In other words, there's a big boss on top of all this, who allowed you, at his pleasure, to deign to have the disgusting effrontery to exist. And you better watch your P's and Q's, because that Almighty is looking after you, with the attitude of this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. And when you look at the world in that image, or in the other image that it's a stupid mechanism, either point of view you take, you don't really belong. You're not really part of all this. And I could use a stronger word than part, only we don't have it in English. We have to say something like connected with it, essential to it. Or to put it in the strongest possible way, it is quite alien to Western thought to conceive that the external world, which is defined as something that happens to you, and your body itself as something that you've got caught up with, it is quite alien to our thought to consider all that as you yourself. Because, you see, we have such a myopic view of what oneself is. It's as if, in other words, we selected how much experience is really to be regarded as me. As if you focused your attention on certain restricted areas of the whole panorama of things that you experience, and say, I will take sides with that much of it. Now, we come here right at the start to an extremely important principle. which is the different points of view you get when you change your level of magnification. That is to say, you can look at something with a microscope and see it a certain way. You can look at it with the naked eye and see it in a certain way. You look at it with a telescope and you see it in another way. Now, which level of magnification is the correct one? Well, obviously, they're all correct. They're just different points of view. You can, for example, look at a newspaper photograph under a magnifying glass, and where with the naked eye you will see a human face, with the magnifying glass you will just see a profusion of dots, rather meaninglessly scattered. But as you stand away from that connection of dots, which all seem to be separate and apart from each other, they suddenly arrange themselves into a pattern. And you see that these individual dots add up to some kind of sense. Now you'll see at once from this illustration that maybe you, when you take a myopic view of yourself, as most of us do, but you may add up to some kind of sense that is not apparent to you in your ordinary consciousness. When we examine our bloodstreams under a microscope, we see there's one hell of a fight going on. All sorts of microorganisms are chewing each other up. And if we got overly fascinated with our view of our own bloodstreams in the microscope, we should start taking sides, which would be fatal, because the health of our organism depends on the continuance of this battle. What is, in other words, conflict at one level of magnification is harmony at a higher level. Now, could it possibly be, therefore, that we, with all our problems, conflicts, neuroses, sicknesses, political outrages, wars, tortures, and everything that goes on in human life, are a state of conflict which can be seen in a larger perspective as a situation of harmony? Well, it is claimed, you see, that some human beings have broken through to that vision, that they've slipped somehow or other into states of consciousness where they see the apparent disintegration and disorganization of everyday life as the functioning of a totality which at its level is completely harmonious. And you could say, aha, at last I see, I got the point. I've seen how all this makes sense. But what this insight depended upon was your overcoming the illusion that space separates things. That is to say, the space, the interval between your body and mine, the interval created by birth at one end and death at the other, and then after somebody's death, then somebody else's birth. These are events with intervals between them. And normally we regard these intervals in time and these intervals in space as having no importance, no function. We tend to see the universe itself as really consisting in all the stars and galaxies. That's what it is. That's what we notice. But the space in which all this happens is sort of written off as something that isn't really there. But what one has to realize is that the space is an essential function of the things in the space. After all, you can't have separate stars unless there is a space around them. Eliminate the space and you will see you couldn't have this phenomenon at all. And vice versa. You couldn't have the space. They wouldn't be there in any sense whatsoever if there weren't the bodies in it. So the bodies in the space and the space are two aspects of a single continuum. They're related together in exactly the same way as a back and a front. And you just don't get one without the other. So the moment you see that intervals, that space is connective, you can understand at once how you are not just to be exclusively defined as a flash of consciousness that occurs between two eternal darknesses, which is the popular common sense view which Western man has of his own life. That you consider that in the darkness that comes before your birth, there was no you, and in the eternal darkness that follows your death, there is likewise no you. And I'm going to discuss these matters not by appealing to any special spooky knowledge, as if I had been traveling on the higher planes and knew all my previous incarnations and therefore could tell you authoritatively that you are much more than this individuality. I'm going to do it on a basis of complete common sense, that everybody has access to the facts. And that just what you have to realize is that life is a pattern of immense complexity. And what you call yourself as a living organism, say, I am my whole body at the very least. Now what is that body? That body is recognizable, and I recognize my friends when I meet them again, with luck, and you recognize me. Although the last time any of you saw me, I was absolutely something entirely different from what I am now. Just as the flame of a candle is never a constant. A flame of a candle is a stream of hot gas. Only you say the flame of the candle as if it were a constant. Well, it is a recognizably constant pattern. The spear-shaped outline of the flame and its coloration is a constant pattern. But in exactly the same way, we are all constant patterns. And that's all we are. The only thing constant about us at all is the doing rather than the being. It's the way we behave, the way we dance. Only there's no we that dances. There's just the dancing. Just as the flame is the streaming of hot gas, just as a whirlpool in a river is a whirling of streaming water. There is no thing that whirlpools. There is the whirlpool. And in the same way, each one of us is a very, very delightfully complex undulation of the energy of the whole universe. Only by our process of miseducation, we've been deprived of the knowledge of that fact, not as if there was someone to blame for this, because it's always with our own tacit consent. Because life is basically a game of hide and seek. Because life is pulsation, on and off. Here it is, and now it isn't. And by being this pulsation, we know it's there. See, you don't know what you mean by on unless you know what you mean by off. That's why when we want to awaken someone, we knock at the door. Not enough to slam the door once with your fist and make a big noise, but you keep up a pulsation, because that by its on and offness attracts attention. All life, you see, is this flickering in and out. Only there are enormous rhythms in it. There are very fast flickering ins and outs, like the reaction of light upon our eyes, such that if I take a lighted cigarette in the dark and I spin it, you will see a circle of fire. Because the reflection of that cigarette tip on your retina lasts, it endures. Just in the same way as on a radar screen. An image stays a little while until it's revivified by another round. So in that way, you see, you notice continuity. And in the same way then, you notice the continuity of a light, because although, like say, with an arc lamp is actually a flickering light. And that's why they don't allow arc lights to be used in any shop where there's a circular saw moving. Because sometimes the flickering speed of the arc light so synchronizes with the turning speed of the teeth on the blade that the teeth look as if they're not moving. And so anybody who might put his hand on the blade would have it chopped off, thinking it was a still one. So in this way, very fast impulses are looked upon as constant. And we see where there are fast impulses a solid thing. When you look at the blade of a propeller or an electric fan, the separated 4 or 3 blades become a solid disc, and you cannot throw an egg through it. Well, so in exactly the same way, you can't put your finger through a rock, because the rock is moving too fast for your finger to go through. That's the meaning of the whole phenomenon of hardness. Hardness in nature is immense energy, but acting in a very concentrated space, restricted space, but going to beat hell. That's why you can't get through it. Now, from those very tiny fast rhythms, which give us the impression of continuity, there are also in this universe immensely slow rhythms. And these are very difficult for us to keep track of. And they impress us and depress us as our own life and death, as our coming and going, which goes for what is, to us, such a slow pace that we can't possibly believe that it is really a rhythm. We think of it as our birth, as something quite unique that could never occur again, because we're so close to it, you see, and it's moving so slowly. And so with that point of view, we are, like Marshall McLuhan has said, he borrowed a metaphor from me, which is that we are driving a car looking at the rear vision mirror. That means that the environment in which you believe yourself to exist is always a past one. It isn't the one you're actually in. The process of growth, the basic process of biology, is one in which lower orders are always being superseded by higher orders. But the lower order can never figure out, or only very rarely figure out, what the higher order is that's taking over, and may see it as a terrible threat, as total disaster, as the very end, but therefore can never be aware that the principle of growth always has and always will continue, because that's what's going on. But you never know what the next step is going to be, because if you did know, you wouldn't take it, because it would already be past. Do you understand this? That any certainly known future is an event of which we can say, you've had it. And in that sense, it's past. When we play games, and we say in chess or in bridge or whatever game you're playing, the outcome of the game becomes certain. We at that point cancel the game and begin a new one. Because the whole zest of the thing, and which takes me back to the idea that this whole thing is a hide-and-seek game, is that you don't know what the next order coming up is. But one thing you can be sure of, it will be an order, and it will comprehend you. At the moment, we stand at a time in history where we're beginning to think of a great countdown on the end of the human race. Terrifying possibility that through atomic energy, we may obliterate this planet and turn the whole globe into a star. Maybe that's the way all the stars started. Imagine, you know, this great thing coming up. The countdown on the end. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where have you heard that before? You sit on the seashore and you hear the waves going in and out, and you don't stop to think. That's what you're doing. That's what the whole business is doing. And there are places where the wave mounts and mounts and it gets too big for its boots or whatever, and it spills and breaks. And we could do just that. But very important to realize that that's what you're doing, because then you don't get panicky about it. And the person who's going to press that button is a person who's going to be in panic. So if you realize that that's what it is, and that it doesn't really matter if the whole human race blows itself up, then there's a chance that it won't do it. That's the only chance we have. Not to do this thing which attracts us like a kind of vertigo, like a person who looks over a precipice and is all set to throw himself over.
There we are. Hey, welcome everybody. It's Saturday night. It's time to get rocking. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we are on Zen week 14. If I can find the slide, let me get to my media assets. I like to do this on the front end so that those that are just starting to watch the video can see where we're at. So we are on week 14. We are studying the book, The Way of Zen by Alan Watts. And today's quote is fantastic. The only Zen you can find on the tops of mountains is the Zen you bring up there. And why that quote is so poignant is that tonight we're going to find out that we are the sources of our own anxiety. And we're going to be looking at how the Buddha realized a life of freedom and anti-anxiety, basically, under the Bodhi tree. And he awakened to the fact that we are not this body, that we are not any idea or caricature that we have in our minds, that our mind doesn't exist, and that essentially there is no self. And in the sense of not that there isn't a self, but there isn't a comprehensible self. So to say that something is the self or to seek for the self only pushes that individual further from that idea of the self. And so it's a quirky, kind of hard thing to wrap your arms around. And it really is one of the reasons why we're so quick to become anxious, because the answer is so hard to see, yet it is right in front of us. And so it's important to keep in mind that no matter where you go, the only Zen you're going to experience is the Zen that you take with you. And so overcoming the anxious life is key to realizing the life of Zen. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit today. Let's go over to chat and let's see how you guys are doing. I hope you guys like the intro. Alan is my dude, man. He's the guy. I really love him. Exactly. I am me here, but I am not there. Yep. And even me is below the threshold. And I know you know that. Yep. Wherever you go, there you are. So I'd love, again, Eldana, I would love to have a conversation with you about Gnosticism. If you would please come to the Zoom meeting. If you shoot me an email, I will send you an invitation every week to Zoom, and then you can come if you want to or not. It's up to you. There's no commitment, and you can come and go as you please. You don't have to be on video, and if you don't want to say anything, if you just want to observe, that's fine. But I would like to have a conversation with you about Gnosticism because I have some questions. Breatharian is the way forward. Read the book Man's Higher Consciousness by Hilton Hotema. Nice. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's an interesting thing, that Gnosticism. I'm curious how people make sense of a world that they think was made by a demon. The Gnostics believe that the demiurge created the world, and that the demiurge is a manifestation of the unthinkable God. But because there is a manifestation of material matter, that because there is matter, that's considered obscene, that's considered anti-God. And so at your basis of Gnosticism is this idea that everything is filth, essentially, because everything is less than spirit, less than God. And so everything is tainted. It's a lot like a Christian idea, except with Gnostics, there's not this forgiveness and atonement hang-up thing. That's sort of exclusive, or that is exclusive with these Western Christian religions. But with Gnosticism, there's not that atonement thing. It's more along the lines of energy, vibration. Now you see it, now you don't, hermeticism kind of thing. But the thing I can't wrap my head around or get some kind of sense is how you build a humane and efficacious mythology when everything comes out of a demon. when everything comes out of Yaldabaoth, or whatever the Gnostics call Lucifer, or that whole thing. And so it's hard for me to understand how that's a viable philosophy or religion, if you want to call Gnosticism a religion, how it's viable with that as its central fulcrum, like the wellspring of everything you understand in materialism and Gnosticism. The wellspring is demons, a demon. That's your wellspring. Everything comes out of that, and then you're supposed to make sense of the world from that point. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, nice. It's good you don't get wound up much anymore. It's nice. Nonplussed. It's one of Fortune's favorite words. Zen is a tool to help you on your own personal. Yes, it's a philosophy. It's a psychology. I know that some people don't think that. I know some people think it's a religion or a belief system, but it's not. It's a psychology. It's a dialogue. It's the opening of a dialogue, just like Buddhism is an opening of a dialogue. So here, what you got, Linda? I teach in my classes to let go the personality, thoughts, even pain, because we're in all that. Yes, those are all in the mind. But I kind of put a twist on things, Linda, in that I put an emphasis on honoring and fully exploring and fully engaging in the sensorial world to have that experience, but not to become entangled in it. That's the key. To have the experience, to enjoy the experience, right? Of being alive, material world, all stuff, but not becoming dependent or hanging on it or grasping it or becoming addicted to it. This is how you create profane or profanity from the material world, by becoming addicted to it and grasping to it. But essentially, in my opinion, the material world is not tainted. There's nothing wrong with it inherently. It's not from a demon. It's not from negativity. It's here for our experience and to fully engage and become a part of what it means to be a human being. And I think that's important. Don't get caught up in the game, but enjoy playing. Yes. 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 That's it. Knowing without knowing. That's it. I love having chat because you guys put things into words at times, which is so poignant. And that's it. You nailed it, pedestrian pinball. Nicely done. Yes, the witness of it all. We're here to observe. We're here to experience. How are you going to have experience without the sensorial world? Think about that. And what is the only thing that can bring you true knowledge? Your own personal experience. Well, how do I have experience? I engage the dualistic world. I engage the world of illusion. This is how I gather experience. This is why killing the ego, or the idea of trying to kill the ego, you've missed the plot. You've missed the plot. Killing the ego in the sense of not becoming entangled in the ego, yes. But not killing the ego in the sense of asceticism, in the sense of checking out. Yeah? You see? It's a line. And I know that the hardcore Buddhists don't like that term. They wouldn't like my saying that. A true hardcore Zenist, in my opinion, or Buddhist, would not be down with the idea of engaging the self, because the whole point is the release from the self. And I put a little bit of a twist on it by saying that because the only way we can truly know anything is through our own personal experience, I say, well, then that makes the sensorial world an important portion of our understanding, but not the end all be all. In other words, you don't want to set up your eternity based on your dualistic world here that you're living. You don't want to set up to where when I die, I'm just going to go to another type of dualism, heaven or hell. You see, now you're entangled. You see, you've entangled yourself at that point because you're forming your epistemology into a dualistic enterprise. And that's profanity. That's not the appropriate behavior of a nature creature, because a nature creature fully integrates and engages nature, but doesn't tie into it, bound itself into it. Okay. Questions? Do you guys have any? Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? It's difficult to be nonplussed. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you, pedestrian. Really appreciate that. Yes, non-attachment. That's it, non-attachment. To cure from addiction, non-attachment, letting go, releasing your grip, be it on your psychology or on your behavior, releasing your grip. Here we go. Hey, Bob, it's good to see you, buddy. When you're no longer addicted to outcomes, then you can enjoy the whole experience because you're no longer seeking to steer it in a particular direction. Correct. That is virtuosity, Bob. The virtual individual or the virtuous individual is not trying to be virtuous. They are not seeking the fruits of their compassion. You see, there's release. This is where compassion sources is from, release, letting go. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I tried to get good sleep last night. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, see, that was a thing for me that I learned when I had cancer, is I quit all painkillers. I used to all growing up and all the way through, all the way through my 30s until I really started a program when I was 33, when I had back spasms. That's when I really started a serious program in educating myself on health. And then one of the major things I learned was that Tylenol and any of these pain-killing drugs really harm your liver. They shorten your life. I used to know people that would take a Tylenol PM every night before bed, and they had no idea that you're completely destroying your liver. It really harms your liver. I learned that from my naturopathic doctor. And so when I had cancer, I learned to just basically no longer take any pain medicine, and I endured it. And it was the better for it because I didn't toxify my body with painkillers. But it's a thing to give up painkillers. I remember whenever I would get a headache, I would get any kind of ache or anything, stomach ache, you're down there getting the stomach remedies, I remember doing that. And I would take Tylenol all the time. I'd take Bayer aspirin all the time for my pains. And once you release from the painkillers and learn to walk with pain, to a certain extent, you're much better off. But I fully have compassion and empathy for people who have incredibly chronic pain and they don't really have a choice. They're just really in a tough shape. But for the folks that just have those light headaches during the day, or you just want to get tired, so you take a Tylenol, pop a Tylenol PM, or to pop an Ambien, you're gonna harm your life long term. Hello, Biker Chick. Welcome. Hey, how's it going? Hello, at my own pace. Welcome. How about world of the demiurge is just an illusion surrounded by the vast natural universe, and it could evaporate in an instant? Yeah, there's the demiurge, and that whole world is just something that came out of ancient society, ancient awareness. And I think what a lot of people forget these days is that, I don't know if y'all realize this, but you know more. I mean, the basic everyday Joe knows more about spirituality, the spiritual life, the meaning of the world, the meaning of life, self-identity. Honestly, you know more than the disciples, the average Joe, as far as spirituality is concerned. Because think about what the disciples knew. I mean, they're whittled down and they're following one individual and they're totally focused on one aspect or portion of life. And they spent their entire life consumed in that, according to the stories, according to the Bible. Well, if you think about it, just how wide was their world? You know, I mean, think about the person who knows about Gnosticism, Buddhism, Taoism, Jainism, Scientology, Christianity, atheism, Islam. You know, most people are fairly familiar with most of those subjects. And I'm telling you, probably half those words the disciples wouldn't have even known. So, folks, understand our awareness and where we're at as far as what we know with science and basic history and basic culture and socialism and these different isms that compose sociology. Folks, this is stuff that those guys had no idea about. People don't realize this. And so understand then, this is why we know we're not going into that type of quote unquote spirituality in the Great Awakening, because think of how limited their minds were compared to now. Think about it. Just in basic education, you know? And so we have to grow. We grow. We're human beings. We grow and we expand. And so the whole point is to get past these ancient ideas. Nothing wrong with studying them. I mean, heck, my Rosicrucian study and this Zen study are fantastic. Great stuff to learn. But it just shows you an observance of the world. It's not something to become entangled into. It's something to learn from, but not to become entangled in. You don't ever want to subscribe to a belief system. You don't ever want to get tied into one means and ways of taking apart the world. You're just limiting yourself to that means and way. And you don't want to confine yourself to ignorance like that. Yes, exactly. Observe, transcend, grow. Beam me up, Scott. Did you just write "Beam me up, Scotty"? Bill, this is really weird because I had this song I was going to play for the opening tonight, and it's called "Beam Me Up, Scotty." I'm not kidding. And I didn't play it because I thought I didn't know how it would go over, so I just decided not to play it. But it's called "Beam Me Up, Scotty." That's pretty weird. I just find that pretty weird. Thank you so much, Ginger. It's good to be here. Thank you so much, Ginger. Yeah, it is a trap. You're exactly right, Sokushin. It is a trap. We're actually going to be talking about samsara. And speaking of which, why don't I just get going on that? I should just get going. What are the origins of your surname? You know who knows about that is my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. He has gone back in time to, I think, all the way back to the 16th or 17th century. He's chased Swindoll, and he has the full history. He actually has all the families. He has the parents and the kids all for the Swindoll history. I just haven't done a deep dive on my history, so I don't know. I can't. I tell you all that, Bob, to say I don't know exactly. Don't join the cult. I'm not having another deja vu right now, but I did have a big one last week. Exactly. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Okay, let's get going. And I'm really sorry, Esoteric, about the storm. I really hope you guys are okay. I'm really sorry about the storm. I've been in a few ice storms myself when I lived in Nashville. And we've had a few up here in Washington. So I'm really sorry. I really understand where you're at. I've been in those kind of things, and I'm really sorry. Stay warm. Okay. Let's get rolling on some Zen. Are you guys ready? Add to stage. Are you ready? So here we go. Let's start on page 44, and we're going to be reading some tonight. Let me get to my media assets here. There we go. Okay, so beginning here on page 44, background and history, the unspoken essence and awakening. There was simply a tradition embodied in the orally transmitted doctrine of the Vedas and Upanishads, a tradition that was not specifically religious, in that it involved a whole way of life and concerned everything from the methods of agriculture to the knowledge of ultimate reality. This is all contained in Buddhism. The Buddha was acting in full accord with his tradition when he became a rishi, or forest sage, who had abandoned the life of the householder and divested himself of caste in order to follow a way of liberation. This is actually the incorrect slide. Shoot. Okay, sorry, we'll just keep going. Never mind. Sorry, never mind. Okay, a forest sage who had abandoned the life of the householder and divested himself of caste in order to follow a way of liberation. As with every other rishi, the method of his way of liberation had certain characteristic features, and his doctrine contained criticisms of men's failure to practice the tradition which they professed. And follow as this develops. Furthermore, he was being entirely traditional in his abandonment of caste. Now, remember, guys, caste, the caste system is a system that you're born into in India. And the caste system was unavoidable. In other words, if you were born into a mercantile family, you became a mercantilist when you grew up. If you were born into a family like a janitor family, you would become a janitor. If you were born into a wealthy family, you would become a wealthy individual. And you never left the caste. This is what's important. You are born into that, and then to be a good human and a person who serves the society effectively, you follow that caste and stay into that caste and become a master of that caste. You never aspire for something greater. You always fall into the caste. And this is very much like Christianity in the sense of when you become a Christian, you are now in the caste of the Christians. So you're a sinner, you're in a sinful world, you need atonement. There's this God called Yahweh and this God called Jesus. You're to worship and bow to these gods. You're in a caste. And so you're learning that system and you become that system. And just on the outside looking in, can you see how that's a confinement? Can you see how I'm taking the potential of that individual and I'm shoving it into a caste? Meaning they can't leave that caste. You see? And this is a means and ways of controlling a society. This is why they were doing this in India. I mean, you've got the society control. I mean, these people that are born in these families, they'll never leave. They have no aspirations. They'll stay in the caste. And this is the ultimate dream for the controller. A society that has no aspiration, that has no inspiration to become more than the life and world that they were born into. You see? And so it's very important to understand castes are cancerous. And in accepting a following of casteless and homeless students, you see, that's what the Buddha did. He left his caste. You see? He left the farm. And now he's working with the homeless students. For the Indian tradition, even more than the Chinese, specifically encourages the abandonment of the conventional life at a certain age, after the duties of family and citizenship have been fulfilled. Relinquishment of caste is the outward and visible sign of the realization that one's true state is unclassified. This is the key as we start to understand what happened after the Bodhi tree, under the Bodhi tree. One's true state is unclassified. You are not in a caste. Your true state is not caste. That one's role or person is simply conventional, and that one's true nature is no thing and nobody. You see, your soul, your identity is not in a caste. You are not set. You're free. You're free. Okay? So never in your life give yourself to a caste. Give yourself your integrity, your sovereignty to something else, a caste, a belief, a system. Because you're not a system. You're a nature creature. You see? And this is what the Buddha was realizing under the tree. I'm not able to be put into any kind of identity. This is what the Buddha realized. This was the realization, spontaneity. He spontaneously, Satori, realized his essence, his true self can't be put into words. He's no thing. There is no self because the self can't be put into words, into any kind of terminology. It's past words. So identifying in a caste, identifying oneself in a set means and ways, you see what that does? That's blasphemy against your identity, because you are placing your identity into a form, into a name, into a principle, and you are past these things. And this is what the Buddha realized under the tree. And it's not something that you talk about because it can't be put into words. You see, this realization was the crux of the Buddha's experience of awakening, Bodhi, which dawned upon him one night as he sat under the celebrated Bo tree at Gaya. After 7 years of meditation in the forests, from the standpoint of Zen, this experience is the essential content of Buddhism. Follow. And the verbal doctrine is quite secondary to the wordless transmission of the experience. There it is. How do I know anything? Experience itself from generation to generation. In other words, it can't be passed on like a belief. This is faith. This is faith. Any spirituality you can teach to your kids, to your friends and family, is not the authentic spirituality because you're talking about it. You're putting it into form. You see? Now, we talk about spirituality and we put spirituality into form on this channel all the time, but we understand that those are subsets. Those are not the thing. There's nothing that's the final say. We are direct pointing. That's what we're doing. We're pointing at it. We're not saying what the truth is. We're not describing what the truth is. We're pointing at it. And it's a realization that you have, just like the Buddha had under the Bo tree. Okay. This experience is the essential content of Buddhism, and the verbal doctrine is quite secondary to the wordless transmission of the experience itself from generation to generation. For 7 years, get that, for 7 years, Gautama, that's the Buddha, had struggled by the traditional means of yoga and tapas, contemplation and asceticism, to penetrate the cause of man's enslavement to Maya. Remember, Maya is the illusion of the world. To find release from the vicious cycle of clinging to life, Krishna, clinging, which is like trying to make the hand grasp itself. All his efforts had been in vain. The eternal Atman, that's the soul, the real self, was not to be found. See, you can't find it. If you seek for it, you're running from it. Got it? If you seek it, if you're looking for it, all you will find is anxiety. That's all you're going to find. You can't find it. You cannot lose or gain it. You realize it. Okay? All his efforts had been in vain. The eternal Atman, the real self, was not to be found. However much he concentrated upon his own mind to find its root and ground, he found only his effort to concentrate. The evening before his awakening, he simply gave up, relaxed his ascetic diet. There you go. See, there's the release. Relaxed his ascetic diet and ate some nourishing food. Integration, allowing, right? The experience you have is spiritual food. This is to be integrated. Thereupon, he felt at once that a profound change was coming over him. He sat beneath the tree, vowing never to rise until he had attained the supreme awakening. There's the persistence. There it is, folks. Trying without trying. There it is. There it is. Trying without trying. He is what is he doing? The Buddha is positioning himself. That's his mind. Positioning himself so that the spontaneity will come to him when the spontaneity comes. You see? He is placing himself in the position. And how many times have I told you guys in the last 14 weeks, the role of the mind is to position the body for the experience and get out of the way. Get out of the way. Same thing if you're going to practice grace, true grace that isn't authored. You're going to perform the grace. So you give someone $10,000. You put it in their mailbox. You put it in their car. And you call them or you leave a note on their door or whatever, their car, and just say, hey, look in your mailbox or whatever. So they don't know who it's from. And then they go and then they open the mailbox or open the car and there's the $10,000 and they have no idea where it came from. They have no idea. This is the Quan. That's it. The not knowing, positioning yourself so that you don't know when the rapture is going to happen, but you're available for it. And you experience it, and this comes over you, and you become the better for it, like the person who finds all that money. Not knowing who it's from removes any debt. And by not having any debt, there's nothing to pay. In other words, the grace can fill them, and that will change them because there's no debt. The change will come from the wellspring of goodness within themselves. There's no distraction. Authorless grace, you see, and this is the type of spontaneity that is required for the realization of nirvana, positioning the mind in the space to receive the grace. And when the grace comes, you have no idea where it came from because you suddenly realize it. You have no idea where the idea came from. That was the idea of the Buddha. He had no idea where his realization that I can't be put into words, therefore I don't exist, there is no self, that just came to him. He wasn't shown that. He positioned himself under the tree to meditate, and the spontaneity came to him. This is virtuosity. This is not seeking the fruits. This is availing yourself to the fruits, but not expecting them to come to you, and then once received, not knowing where they came from. You see? This is the key to awakening. Okay, continuing. He sat beneath the tree, vowing never to rise until he had attained the supreme awakening, and according to a tradition, sat all through the night until the first glimpse of the morning stars suddenly provoked a state of perfect clarity and understanding. This was Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, unexcelled complete awakening. You see? Liberation from Maya and from the everlasting round of birth and death, samsara, which we mentioned earlier in chat, samsara, which goes on and on and on for as long, here it is, for as long as man tries in any way whatsoever to grasp at his own life. Do you realize what that implicates? Samsara, going round and round the birth and death cycle, recycle, will continue for as long as a man tries in any way whatsoever to grasp at his own life. Okay, so what is the source of anxiety? Grasping. I'm trying to hold something. Nature cannot be held. So when I try to hold something, when I try to hold on to nature, it's the same thing as someone grabbing your arm. You don't like it. Like if someone grabs your arm and pulls you, you immediately are resisting, like you don't like that. Nature's the same way. When you try to grab hold of nature and say you're this or you're that, you are putting yourself into anxiety because nature will have none of that. Nature has no time for being named, categorized, put into form. It's beauty, it's art. And you don't grab art. You don't possess art. You let it do its art thing. You let it do its thing. You don't talk about it. You let it impact on its own. You let people come to the art and see it. You don't ruin the situation by telling them about it. And this is that freedom, that spontaneity that allows the art, the rapture to happen because you're not interfering. And it's the same thing in life. You approach life, you approach experience, the painting, and you don't want an interpreter because what the experience is going to show you is what you're going to learn. And that stuff is past words. The true meat, the true experience you want is the stuff that you can't put into words, like the love you have for your child. You can't put that into words. And this is the same level. Yet the actual content of this experience was never and could never be put into words, for words are the frames of Maya, the meshes of its net, and the experience is of the water which seeps or which slips through. Isn't that beautiful? The experience of the water which slips through. Thus, so far as words are concerned, the most that may be said of this experience are the words attributed to the Buddha. And he said here, just so, Subhui, I obtained not the least thing from unexcelled complete awakening, and for this very reason it is called unexcelled complete awakening. Thus, from the standpoint of Zen, the Buddha never said a word, okay? Never said a word, despite the volumes of scriptures attributed to him. For his real message remained always unspoken, and was such that when words attempted to express it, they made it seem as if it were nothing at all. Yet it is the essential tradition of Zen that what cannot be conveyed by speech can nevertheless be passed on by direct pointing. That's called experience, just so you know. Your personal experience is directly pointing you to truth. That's past words. It's a realization, okay? Direct pointing by some nonverbal means of communication without which the Buddhist experience could never have been handed down to future generations. You see, that's why it's important that we talk about what can't be talked about. You see, because this is how it's passed down through the generations. The unspeakable is passed down. We talk about that which can't be talked about. Got it? In its own, probably rather late tradition, Zen maintains that the Buddha transmitted awakening to his chief disciple, Mahakasyapa. Kasyapa. Sorry, I'm not familiar with Hindi words. By holding up a flower and remaining silent. The Pali Canon, however, relates that immediately after his awakening, the Buddha went to the deer park at Benares and set forth his doctrine to those who had formerly been his companions in the ascetic life. See, this is the Bodhisattva coming back to talk to and help others awaken, expressing it in the form of those Four Noble Truths, which provides so convenient a summary of Buddhism. These four truths are patterned in the traditional Vedic form of a physician's diagnosis and prescription, which I really like that concept. The identification of the disease and of its cause. You see, what is the disease? Why is the king sick? Remember, Parsifal never asked that. Why is the king sick? What is the disease? What is its cause? And the pronouncement as to whether it may be cured, and the prescription for the remedy. In other words, friend, be aware of your situation. Know yourself, know your environment, and therefore you can behave appropriately. In other words, acting without acting. Your virtuosity comes out of you because you are aware of yourself and you are aware of the environment. You see yourself in the environment, you see yourself in others. This is what births compassion. This is the appropriate approach to life. The first truth is concerned with the problematic word dukkha, loosely translatable as suffering. Now, all you anxious people, please pay attention. This is for you. Loosely translatable as suffering, and which designates the great disease of the world for which the Buddha's method, Dharma, is the cure. Birth is dukkha, decay is dukkha, sickness is dukkha, death is dukkha. So also are sorrow and grief. To be bound with things like which we dislike, and to be parted from things which we like. These are all dukkha. You see, discontentment, not to get what one desires. This also is dukkha. In a word, this body, this fivefold aggregation based on clutching, fivefold, five senses, follow. This is dukkha. This, however, cannot quite be compressed into the sweeping assertion that life is suffering. This is key. Life is not suffering. The point is rather that life as we usually live it is suffering, or more exactly, is bedeviled by the peculiar frustration which comes from attempting the impossible. In other words, trying to identify life, trying to put life into words, essentially. That's the impossible. And this creates frustration. And just like a mountain is too much for you to move, when the person approaches life in this anxious state, it seems that life is too much to overcome. And this is because their mind has gotten the idea that what they are experiencing is real, that they have become entangled in the experience, which is causing the suffering, the anxiety. The individual, in other words, sources their own suffering. The anxiety comes from within themselves because they are trying to shrink the world into their terms. They're trying to shrink the world into a way that they understand, that makes sense to them, and rejecting the portions that don't make sense. This is suffering. Integration. You can't force the world into the cube that you want. You integrate into the ineffable. You integrate into the non-cube, the wonder. And this is what you immediately crush anxiety, immediately, because you're not trying to make nature something that it's not. And just like you don't like to be made into something that you're not, it's the exact same pattern with nature. Same exact. In the same way, you don't like to be called by the wrong name, do you? If someone is constantly calling, like my name's Chuck, so if someone constantly calls me Jim, hey, Jim, come here, and they keep doing it, that's going to annoy me eventually. That's going to cause me to not want to be around that person because they're a low energy. They keep calling me by a name that I'm not. And it causes me to not want to be around them because I don't want to be around that energy. Nature's the same way. It's the same way. And if you're walking around labeling it, naming it, trying to call it, make it something that it's not, it's going to run from you, friend. Like trying to kill the ego. It's just going to run from you because you're naming the ego. By trying to kill it, you're naming it. And so you keep it alive because you keep naming it. This is frustration. This is how it happens. This is how anxiety happens. Perhaps then frustration is the best equivalent for dukkha, even though the word is the simple antonym of sukha, which means pleasant or sweet. In another formulation of the Buddha's teaching, dukkha is one of the three characteristics of being or becoming, whereof the other two are anitya, impermanence, and anatman, absence of any self. These two terms are of basic importance. Anatman, absence of any self, and anitya, impermanence. That's you, friend. That's you. Are you not? And now you see it, now you don't? That's impermanence. And do you have a self? Do you? Because if you say that you do, how do you know that? You can't name the self. You can't name it. It's like your mind. It doesn't exist. You can't hand me your mind, just like you can't hand me self. You can't hand me faith. Know where you're at. Do not be ignorant of the truth of you and your life. Do not be ignorant. Know this about yourself. Okay. That you are impermanent and that you are absent of any self. These two terms are of basic importance. The anitya, anitya doctrine is, again, not quite the simple assertion that the world is impermanent, but rather that the more one grasps at the world, the more it changes. And you guys know that. That's not a hard sell. The more you grasp at it, the more it changes. Reality in itself is neither permanent nor impermanent. It cannot be categorized. But when one tries to hold on to it, change is everywhere apparent, since like one's own shadow, the faster one pursues it, the faster it flees. And you know, friend, you're the exact same way. You're the exact same way. That's why you can't be put into a book. You change every day. The individual that gets on the train is a different individual when they get off the train. In other words, you're in a constant state of development and flux. You are in a constant state of growing and becoming. You see, nature's no different. So therefore, understand, because you're constantly growing, you're constantly changing your state, how can there be an identity there? You're in the midst of change. There's no set identity there. There's no final way or word. You're an enigma. You see, you are not just a now you see it, now you don't. You're past that three-dimensional idea. Do you follow? Okay. The Anicca doctrine is, again, not quite the simple assertion that the world is impermanent, but rather that the more one grasps at the world, the more it changes. Reality in itself is neither permanent nor impermanent. You see the wisdom in that? It cannot be categorized. But when one tries to hold on to it, change is everywhere apparent, since like one's own shadow, the faster one pursues it, the faster it flees. Abandoning caste is a physical, psychological, and metaphysical turning point, signifying the realization of one's unclassified no-thing nature to abandon conventional role as a convention, you see. And dictionary, look here in caste, the system of dividing society into hereditary classes, you see. And one must abandon classes. One must abandon those set finalities, because there is no such in a wonder. Bodhi awakening strikes the Buddha under the bo tree after his feudal yogas sought the Atman. Remember, he became frustrated with this whole ascetic approach. Efforts are in vain, as concentrating on them yields only more effort. You see, giving up, and that's the release moment. That's a really key point to understand. In order for the Buddha to have that moment of awakening, he gave up. What is it to give up? To release, to breathe out. I'm giving up my breath. I release, letting go. And that is the emptying of the pipe so that now the water can fill it. That's the emptying of the vessel so that now knowledge can come into it. That's what that is. The release is the letting go of the volume so that a new volume, another volume can come in, because we are in a constant state of flux and change. We are changing nature creatures, right? And so the appropriate approach to life is one of change, one of insecurity, one of non-attachment, one of impermanence. That's the appropriate. So you see why striving for security, striving for the sure thing, striving for assurance, striving to lock it down, striving for eternal security. You see, you are the one creating your own anxiety. You are trying to force this conundrum into a set path, into a way, into a word, into a permanence. You are creating your own frustration. You are creating your own anxiety. The moment you do that. It's the same thing as the moment you grab someone's arm is the moment you begin to annoy them. The moment you grab their arm like that, you immediately begin to annoy them. And life, nature is no different. You will annoy nature the more you try to grab her, the more you try to hold on to her. She will not be confined. Nature will not be confined. Okay, just like you. Buddha vows clarity. Till dawn star sparks release, nirvana is unintentional, and its content is wordless. Words are but frames for Maya. Buddha never said a word, meaning the real message is unspoken, unspeakable, and is transmitted silently. Do you see? The more you talk about it, you see? The more you talk about it, the more you put labels on it, the further and further and further away from it you get. That's the deeper principle. That's the deeper truth. Liberation relinquishes self-grasping, which frees to have an open experience, like we just said, like the Tao's Wu Wei. The flow unveils formless persistence past anthropomorphic images, which is also idolatry. Caste also applies, here's your pro tip, Caste also applies to an indoctrinated religious identity. Remember, if you are born into Christianity, if you are born into Islam, if you are born into Judaism, you have been born into a caste. And the same loathing attitude you have for a person in India who's been born into a caste and they can't and they won't leave it, meaning that your heart goes out to them because they are stuck in that caste. My friend, you're in the same position as a Christian, Islamist, or Jew. If you were born into that and you are still that, you have integrated yourself. You have chosen, you yourself have chosen to stay in that caste. And as long as you choose to stay in that caste, guess what? You remain in a state of anxiety because nature cannot be put into a caste. And you're a nature creature. You're living in self-denial when you put yourself into a caste because you're a nature creature. Christianity is a caste. Islam is a caste. Is there any exit strategies for these belief systems? Is there? No. There's no exit strategy. Just like the Hindi, there's no exit strategy for the caste that you're born into. You can't get out. You have to leave the family, the village, you have to leave the country to escape the caste. And in the same way, you have to leave the religious farm to leave the caste. You see how practical and pragmatic sense frees you? This practical, pragmatic sense of yourself and of the world. Do you see how when you're clarified with stuff like this, how easy it is to walk away? Because you realize how sickening it is to remain in a caste. How dishonorable it is to yourself and to nature to place yourself in a caste, to give your brain to the catechism, giving your brain to a caste. Next slide. The arrival of Buddhism. All right, here we are. Buddha's message from under the tree. This is for all you anxious people. This is for you. I love you. This is for you. Buddha's message from under the tree was unspeakable, yet its discussion is why we know of it. This is why we speak about the unspeakable. Dukkha is suffering, and it is the antonym of sukha, meaning sweet. Life isn't, follow, life is not inherent suffering, but by holding to it, it becomes suffering. Who does the holding, friend? Who does the holding? Not your neighbor, not your city, not your government. You. You are the one who holds. And that creates suffering, birth, decay, unfulfilled desires, and death. Frustration and anxiety stem from impossible grasping. Think of life as milk, sweet when fresh, sour when kept. Life is sweet. It's the mind that keeps and sours it. Perspective must change to realize a deeper reality. And I have an epic quote coming up to substantiate that. We'll get there in a minute. The key to transcending is release. Reality is uncategorizable, so one must let go to realize depth. Dukkha, suffering, only exists in the mind identifying as a self. Anitya, or impermanence, and anatman, or no self, extinguishes dukkha. And as we see in our little cartoon on the right here we have great individual here. It's like, heck yeah, I'm going to live an anxious-free life. They've got their heart in it. They totally want to do it. They totally believe they can, and they totally want that anxious-free life. But they don't realize, right? Here's the key. Here's the key. Here's the key. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. It's a realization. When you make it a choice, it becomes about relationships, politics, society, money, religion, safety, health, self, because these are the concerns of the mind. The mind does not exist. Living an anxious-free life is not something you choose. It's something you realize because you change your mythology. You change your epistemology. You change your identity. These are the things that will access you, the anxious-free life. Following rules, regulations, and being obedient will only make you more anxious, because you didn't come here to obey. You didn't come here to fall in line. You didn't come here to follow orders. Do you see? So if you want to live the anxious-free life, you must stop obeying the edicts, the demands, the necessities of the society that the society tells you, because the society's priorities are the society, not the individual. So if you think like Kirk Hammett here, birth is pain, life is pain, death is pain, it's all the same. Do you see how that is samsara? You are creating your own wake of recidivism, of pessimism. And so you create your own negativity when it's this idea that birth is pain, life is pain, death is pain, it's all the same. Do you see? And you're the one that creates that, because birth is not pain, life is not pain, death is not pain. Pain is an egregore. It's an idea that you have in your mind because you have a short mythology, because you have a pinched identity of yourself. Because life is sweet. It's the mind that sours it. The mind's ideas, conceptions. In order to live an anxious-free life, then, I must take the responsible approach, which is appropriate behavior to the environment, the world, the wonder that you're in. And how do I realize appropriate behavior? I know who I am. I have an epistemology that integrates wonder. I have a mythology that integrates experience, personal knowledge and understanding, and a realization of the veil and what is past the veil. You see, this is called a wider perspective. This is how you're rid of anxiety. A larger and larger and larger picture. And this releases you. The key to transcending is release. Reality, what I just said, is uncategorizable. So one must let go to realize depth. I must empty the vessel, right? I must empty the vessel, my mind, in order to understand the deeper principle, the deeper sense. Because the ideas I have in my mind are forms, are words. And they keep me from the true depth. The true depth is found through direct pointing, which is what Zen is attempting here. Go to the next slide. Look at this quote from Joe Campbell. This world, with all its ills, with all its horrors, with all its sorrows, with all its stupidities, with all its darkness, is the golden lotus world, is the golden lotus world right now as it is. And if you cannot see it as such, this is not the world's fault. What must be corrected is not the world, but your own perspective of it. What is the self-responsible approach? Right in front of you. What is the self-responsible approach? The larger perspective, a larger identity, a larger mythology, releasing from the cramped beliefs that come out of your past, that come out of your history. Those come out of controlled societies of Babylon. Understand this, friend. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, those come out of old societies that were around when there was Babylon and the aftermath of it, namely the Roman Empire, which is Babylon. You need to understand the forms and ways of the world as you understand it, namely religion and government, come out of dominator society, come out of societies that were slaves based on hierarchy and male dominance. That is what handed you modern religion today. Western religion. That is what handed it to you. Dominator culture. And so if you are going to live a life free of anxiety, you must leave these small mindsets that we come from. We come from very small mindsets from oppressed communities, highly oppressed, highly suppressed, and subverted communities. That's what we come from. In fact, I've got a video I'm going to play for you. This is a perfect opportunity. I can't believe this came up. Watch this. This video is by Yuri Bezmenov, and he escaped communist Russia And he gave classes in the 80s to people to instruct them so that they knew when they were being led by a communist society. Awareness. Watch this. You want to learn something? Watch this.
So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? These are the areas of application of subversion. What it means exactly? In case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, which bring people's attention, faith, whether it is naive, primitive, doesn't really matter. As long as the basically accepted religious dogma is being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being, that serves the purpose. Therefore, replace it, accepted, respected religious organizations with fake organizations. Distract people's attention from the real faith and attract them to various different faiths. Education. Distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare, home economy, your sexuality, anything, as long as it takes you away. Okay? Social life. Replace traditionally established institutions and organizations with fake organizations. Take away the initiative from people. Take away the responsibility from naturally established links between individuals, group of individuals, and society at large, and replace them with artificially, bureaucratically controlled bodies.
Boom.
Instead of social life and friendship between neighbors, establish social workers institutions. People who are on payroll of whom? Society? No. Bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy.
The main concern of social workers is not your family, not you, not social relations between groups of people. The main concern is to get the paycheck from the government.
There you go.
What will be the result of their social work doesn't really matter. They can develop all kind of concepts to show to the government and to the people that they're useful. Okay. Away from the natural links. Power structure. Okay.
Isn't this amazing? Where he's laying it out back and before all this stuff had come forward. Now you guys can see watching this video, you can totally see what's been systematically done to the society.
The natural bodies of administration, which are traditionally either elected by people at large or appointed by elected leaders of society, are being actively substituted by artificial bodies. The bodies of people, groups of people, whom nobody elected. Never. As a matter of fact, most of the people don't like them at all, and yet they exist. One of such group is media. Who elected them? How come they have so much power? Almost monopolistic power on your mind. They can rape your mind. But who elected them? How come they have a nerve to decide what is good and what is bad for the elected by you, president, and his administration? Who the hell are they? Spiro Agnew, who was hated by the liberal left, called them a bunch of enfeebled snobs. And that's exactly what they are. They think they know. They don't. The level of mediocrity. In a big establishment like New York Times, Los Angeles Times, major television network, you don't have to be excellent journalist. You have to be exactly a mediocre journalist. That's easier to survive. There's no competition anymore. You have your good, nice income, $100,000 a year. That's it. Whether you are better or worse doesn't really matter anymore. As soon as you are smiling to the camera and do your job. That's it. No more competition. Power structure slowly is eroded by the bodies and groups of people who do not have neither qualification nor the will of people to keep them in power, and yet they do have power. Okay. Together with that, there is another process. Law enforcement, law and order organization and structure is being eroded. For the last 20, 25 years, if you see old movies and new movies, you can see that in new movies, a policeman, an officer of the United States Army looks angry, psychotic, paranoid. A criminal looks nice, kind of, well, he smokes hash and shoots the whatever drug, but basically he's a nice human being. He's creative. And he's unproductive only because society oppresses him. Whereby a general of Pentagon is always, by definition, a war maniac. A policeman is a pig, rude policeman. He abuses his power. No? A generalization like that. The hatred, the mistrust to the people who are supposed to protect you and enforce law and order. A slow substitution of basic moral principles.
You guys see? Do you see? It's amazing, isn't it? How they've stolen our identity and they've stolen our understanding of the world and dumbed society down. Isn't it amazing? And this guy was talking about this. He was talking about this, 40 years ago. Okay. Do y'all have any questions? Let's go to comments. We've been talking for a while here. Let's go to comments and see what you guys got. Okay. Yeah. Wasn't that great? Yuri is awesome. He is awesome. He is absolutely awesome. Yes, he is. Yeah, he's fantastic. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah. Yeah, very. I think that's true more often than not. I think the caste also exists that too, if you're born into a criminal family. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're born into the mob, I mean, you know, what are you going to do? You got to leave everything to get out. Isn't it interesting, though, that that's how society works? Yes, one word, accountability, exactly. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You nailed it, 9mm. That's it, dude. Infiltration, not invasion. And you can see how they're doing this because people don't know who they are. They don't know the world that they're in. They're ignorant. Do you see? This is why Zen is so applicable right now, because it is anti-ignorance. And it is ignorance that has driven the world to the place that it is now, because we haven't been aware. We haven't been aware that it has been an infiltration, not an invasion. And you have to be an aware individual. You got to have your eyes open and you are on the prowl, like aware, paying attention, participating. Yeah, I'll tell you something right now, pedestrian. One of the greatest mysteries I'll never get answered is why, oh my God, his name just slipped my mind. Why did his name just slip my mind? Oh my God. That great philosopher from the Christian philosopher from the 60s. Oh my God, why? I had a whole point to make and I forgot his name. Dang it, what was his name? Oh my God, he's so popular. Christian author from the 60s. And why can I not remember his name? And I've completely missed the point. Doggone it. Doggone it. Completely dropped the ball on that one. Sorry. I completely forgot his name. But the point I was going to make was that he never said that Christianity was an illusion. That's why your question triggered it, is that this individual that I can't think of, he never saw through Christianity, that it's a control mechanism, that it's a Babylonian control mechanism out of the Catholic Church. Lewis, that's it. Thank you. C.S. Lewis. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. That's my wife. Thank you. And Intrepid Drums. Thank you. Yes, C.S. Lewis. Thank you. He never saw, I mean, folks, think about it. Lewis He died thinking he was a sinner. And I mean, think of how deep that guy's philosophy was. And he never saw past that. Incredible. And so that's what I mean by infiltration, not invasion. That Lewis's mind was infiltrated with this idea of lack, that he's lacking something, that there's something missing inherently from him. And he needs God, forgiveness, whatever. And it's so incredible to me that he never saw it. You guys are so crazy. Okay. Yes. It's tough, isn't it? Thank you. I appreciate that. Good content as usual, Chuck. Thank you for all your work and effort. The people deserve their just desserts. Thank everyone here. Exactly. K9, time for me. Oh, good. Go be with the pup. Look out for after yourselves and each other. Good night. Well done, sir. Say hi to your pup for me. I love puppies. Love dogs and cats. Love them. Okay. I'm from the same part of Belfast as he was. C.S. Lewis, mind blown. Yeah, exactly, dude. He never saw it. And he was around with Watts. He was around with some of these key figures that had broken through that, that Christian barrier that so many people never break through. The Christian veil. Yeah, I think in many ways you're true, Brian. I think they're doing a really good job making a very small paid sect of people, and they're making them look like it's half the population of the US or the world for that matter. So when they have these staged not riots, but they are riots, but these staged situations where they have all the people that are resisting, and they're all paid. They're all paid. They're all paid. And so not even the people that are protesting are authentic. They're doing it because they're getting a paycheck. In other words, this movement doesn't exist. They're just paying for it to be there. There isn't really this many people that are for these real extreme positions of life. And see, that's the thing. He was content at his own level of understanding. And that right there, ignorance is bliss. Do you really think that C.S. Lewis would be proud of the thought that I personally think he was ignorant and he died in his own ignorant bliss? I promise you that's the last thing that C.S. Lewis would have wanted, were for people to think that he was blissfully ignorant, but he darn well was. He darn well was. C.S. Lewis was an ignoramus when it came to spirituality. I mean, can you believe that? Think of that statement. Calling C.S. Lewis an ignoramus when it came to spirituality. But he was. He was completely caught up in the illusion. He was completely caught up in the illusion of sin, completely caught up in the illusion that he was a fallen creature, that he was fallen from God, that he had to have atonement. I mean, the guy was sold down the river, and he's considered to be one of the greatest spiritual minds to have ever lived. And the guy was completely sold down the river. Down the freaking river. Died fighting to be a sinner. Fighting for it. Yeah, it's incredible. He never saw it. And it's because infiltration rather than invasion. Infiltration. We are learning that we are complete, and even our fallacies are important to help others with their own duality. Exactly, Vortex of Do. Exactly, and I love that name. Right on. Right on, Bill. Right on. That's what I'm saying. I read that trilogy. It was mind-blowing. He had a great mind. I mean, he really did. But bruh, when it came to spirituality, he was as lost as you can get. As far as the bigger picture. Lost meaning he didn't see it. He was blind. Lewis was blind to the deeper picture. Blind. Blind man. Chuck, to leave the caste system. How to avoid joining another one by accident. Humans are social creatures. We must be careful. Exactly. And Alan had a good response to that, Fortune. And he subscribed to what he called the religion of no religion. which I think is a great idea. The religion of no religion. But my thought is not even to call it religion, but just to call it open philosophy. Just an open philosophy, an open dialogue. That's what spirituality is to me, at least. It's a philosophy. It's a dialogue. It's a discussion about non-discussion, about non-words, you know? It's a funky thing like that. Yeah, wag the dog, exactly. Is that true? Sad. He just didn't have a large enough perspective. Sad. I mean, I really used to admire Lewis quite a bit, but after realizing how short he was from the deeper truth, I mean, it's depressing about him. Yes, they're all crisis actors at those resistant movements. It's all crisis actors. They're all paid. It doesn't exist. There's not all these crazy people like that. There's a few, but there's not as many as they claim. Yeah, it's all stage production. Exactly. Actors Guild. Correct. That dude was so MK Ultra. Oh my God. Frank Zappa was 33-degree CIA, man. I mean, that guy, Frank Zappa, down the river, man. That guy was down the river. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? It's just amazing. His own karma. Yep. His own karma. Okay. Are we good? I'm not seeing any questions. If you have questions for me, put them in caps. Yeah, it is. Exactly right. They've cut off the funds. C.S. Lewis knew a lot more than you guys know. He did know a lot, but when it came to his self-identity, when it came to the larger picture, he's lost. Ignorant. Total ignoramus. When it came to the deeper principle, the guy thought he was a sinner. Just how deep is your spirituality if you think you're a sinner? Seriously, if you think that you're separated from God, just how deep is your spirituality going? You're still living in the illusion that you're separated. I mean, how far are you going to get? How far are you going to get? And that's where Lewis was. That's right, where he was. Ignorant. I mean, great philosophy of life, great comments. I mean, the guy had a lot of wonderful things to say. But when it came to grasping the larger perspective and understanding that we're not this body, I mean, the guy, he missed it. Yes, there's nothing wrong with liking his work. There's nothing wrong with liking his work. You don't think he was a Christian? You don't think that C.S. Lewis was a Christian? It's just a game. Interesting. What is this, Bob? JFK, C.S. Lewis, and Huxley all died on the same day. Are you serious, Bob? Are you serious? Aldous Huxley died on the same day as Lewis and JFK? That's amazing. That's wild. I'd like to check out the astrology of that date. I would love to see the planet alignment on that date. Yes, be like water. Exactly. Be like water. Yes, he was, obviously. And what is one of the key things we need to do is we also need to not be caught up in our culture, you know, to not be caught up in our culture. Yes, we are on the verge of of collapse. I need to get back to my slides. We're not getting anything done tonight. Well, he was ignorant of the deeper sense because he thought he was a sinner. He thought he needed forgiveness. Now, if he didn't think that, if Lewis didn't think he was a Christian, I mean, didn't he write that book, Real Christianity? I mean, yeah, it was a good point with Screwtape and Wormwood. I agree. I hope you guys aren't confusing. I'm not calling C.S. Lewis an idiot. I'm saying that he was ignorant of the deeper sense of spirituality, but he had some good philosophy. He had some good things to say. But he was ignorant of the deeper philosophy. As long as a person thinks that they're a sinner and they need forgiveness and that they're separate from God, that person is ignorant of a deeper spiritual principle. Probably guilt and shame because he believed he was a sinner. Probably because he believed he needed Jesus. That's how typically Christianity captures people, is they make you feel guilty for your misdeeds. And the point is to learn from your misdeeds, not to wallow in guilt and shame over them. The idea is to learn from them so that you stop doing them, but not to like have to go through all this forgiveness stuff. You learn from it and move on. Yeah, it is crazy that they all died at the same. It's crazy. That's amazing, Bob. It's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, Huxley knew. Huxley knew. He wrote the book Doors of Perception. He knew. Yeah, you're welcome, Fortune. Absolutely, you're welcome. So yeah, look that up, guys, on your astrology. 22nd November 1963. That must be a heavy day because there's some big people that passed away. Okay, let's get back to the slides. Media assets. Of course. Okay, media assets. Next slide. Add to stage. Here. Cause of frustration and self-contradiction. Reality in itself is neither permanent nor impermanent. It cannot be categorized, but when one tries to hold to it, change is everywhere apparent, since like one's own shadow, the faster one pursues it, the faster it flees. In the same way, the Anatman doctrine is not quite the bald assertion that there is no real self, Atman, at the basis of our consciousness. The point is rather that there is no self or basic reality which can be grasped. Please realize that. There's a big difference between saying there is no self and there is no self that can't be grasped. You see, or that can be grasped. You see, it's a difference there, which may be grasped either by direct experience or by concepts. Apparently, the Buddha felt that the doctrine of the Atman the doctrine of the Atman in the Upanishads lent itself too easily to a fatal misinterpretation. It became an object of belief, desiderantum, derangement, I guess, a goal to be reached, something to which the mind could cling as its one final abode of safety in the flux of life. What a great way to put it. The Buddha's view was that a self so grasped was no longer the true self, but only one more of the innumerable forms of Maya. Thus, Anatman might be expressed in the form, the true self is non-self, since any attempt to conceive the self, believe in the self, or seek for the self immediately thrusts it away, as we said. The Upanishads distinguish between Atman, the true supra-individual self, and the Jvatman, or individual soul, and the Buddha's Anatman doctrine agrees with them in denying the reality of the latter. It is fundamental to every school of Buddhism that there is no ego, no enduring entity, which is the constant subject of our changing experiences. For the ego exists in an abstract sense alone, being an abstraction from memory, somewhat like the illusory circle of fire made by a whirling torch. That's the ego. Remember when someone does this with a cigarette butt, it looks like there's a ring of fire, and that's exactly the picture of your ego. You can see that cigarette butt, and you're looking in the mirror, and it's like, that's a circle. That's a red circle. I mean, you're making a circle, and you can see it with your eyes, but yet the circle doesn't exist. It's being made from the spinning of the cigarette, and it's the same thing with your mind. Your ego is created by the spinning of your mind. It's the same picture. It's the same picture. And the release from ego is the release from the ideas of the mind. Follow? We can, for example, imagine the path of a bird through the sky as a distinct line which it has taken. But this line is as abstract as a line of latitude. In concrete reality, the bird left no line, and similarly, the past from which our ego is abstracted has entirely disappeared. Thus, any attempt to cling to the ego or to make it an effective source of action is doomed to frustration. The second noble truth relates to the cause of frustration, which is said to be Trishna, clinging or grasping based on avidya. which is ignorance or unconsciousness. Now, avidya is the formal opposite of awakening. It is the state of mind when hypnotized or spellbound by Maya, so that it mistakes the abstract world of things and events for the concrete world of reality. At a still deeper level, it is lack of self-knowledge, lack of the realization that all grasping turns out to be the futile effort to grasp oneself, or rather, to make life catch hold of itself. For to one who has self-knowledge, there is no duality between himself and the external world. Avidya is ignoring in the fact that subject and object are relational, like the two sides of a coin, so that when one pursues, the other retreats. This is the picture of life, is it not? This is why the egocentric attempt to dominate the world, to bring as much of the world as possible under the control of the ego, has only to proceed for a little while before it raises the difficulty of the ego's controlling itself. This is really a simple problem of what we now call cybernetics, the science of control. Mechanically and logically, it is easy to see that any system approaching perfect self-control is also approaching perfect self-frustration. Such a system is a vicious circle and has the same logical structure as the statement which states something about itself, as, for example, I am lying, when it is implied that the statement itself is a lie. Do you see how that is a double negative there? When you say that I am lying, well, if you're lying, then are you lying about the lie? And if you are lying about the lie, then you're lying. We'll see you're both lying and not lying at the same time. And this is exactly the picture of the person who thinks they're a sinner and is forgiven, because they can't trust themselves because they're a sinner, but yet they're forgiven. So they're forgiven from being a sinner, yet they can't trust themselves because they're a sinner. It's a double bind. It's a double bind. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you trust the opinion that you're a sinner? Do you follow? It's a double bind. It's a double bind. This is the same bind that C.S. Lewis was in. Same bind. And he didn't see it. And it's the not seeing it that is the ignorance that Zen is pointing towards here. The inability to see your own psychology, your own anxiety that you are generating yourself. Okay, continue. I lost where I was. Ignoring the fact that mechanically, logically. Okay, I am lying. Okay, the statement circulates fatuously forever, since it is always true to the extent that it is false, and false to the extent that it is true. Expressed more concretely, I cannot throw a ball so long as I am holding on to it, so as to maintain perfect control of its movements. Now, this is when it's going to get convicting for you. Thus, the desire for perfect control of the environment and of oneself is based on a profound mistrust of the controller. Here we go. There's that mistrust. Avidya is the failure to see the basic self-contradiction of this position. And this is what C.S. Lewis didn't see. He didn't see his own self-contradiction. Do you see? From it, therefore, arises a futile grasping or controlling of life, which is pure self-frustration. And the pattern of life which follows is the vicious circle, which in Hinduism and Buddhism is called samsara, the round of birth and death. Pro tip: the statement I am a liar implicates the same as the statement I am a sinner. Neither individual can be trusted, neither can trust themselves, and both place themselves into a double bind. Second pro tip: the person who holds to life to understand it is like the person who holds the ball while throwing it. You follow that? The person who holds to life to understand it, meaning the person who uses words to understand life, is like the person who holds the ball while trying to throw it. Why? Because words are in time. They are in a place. They are set and they define and they control. The world is a wonder. As long as you consistently try to put the words into the world into forms, nature into forms, you see, you potentiate the wheel of samsara, life and death, life and death, life and death, perpetually. You self-frustrate yourself. And that's why, as you try to throw the ball of experience, you're not throwing the ball, because you're trying to hold on to that experience by claiming, I'm a sinner. Life is Christianity. There's this God called Yahweh. There's this God called Jesus and Allah. You are trying to define life, meaning throw the ball, but you're holding it. You're holding it. And as long as you try to hold the ball, you can't throw it. And as long as you try to define life with words, you can't define it. You can't understand it. You're trying to hold on to it, and you can't. I really hope this concept reaches you guys, because it's real important to understand it. That's what I meant at the beginning of the lecture when I said that this stuff is right in front of you, easy to see, but it's actually not easy to see. It's not easy to see. But once you see it, it's easy to see. But you see, until you see it, it's really hard to see. And this is what these great philosophers from the 50s that were all Christians, they never saw it, even though it's right in front of them. And I'm putting it right in front of you guys right here. I'm showing it to you right here firsthand. Now follow this here. I'm going to do this here, there. Okay, there we are. The active principle of the round is known as karma, or conditioned action. Action, that is, arising from a motive and seeking a result, the type of action which always requires the necessity for further action. Man is involved in karma when he interferes with the world in such a way that he is compelled to go on interfering. When the solution of a problem creates still more problems to be solved, when the control of one thing creates the need to control several others. Karma is thus the fate of everyone who tries to be God, or tries to be good for that matter. He lays a trap for the world in which he himself gets caught. Do you see it? Many Buddhists understand the round of birth and death quite literally, in a process of reincarnation, whereas the karma which shapes the individual does so again and again in their life, after life, until you see it, nature's just going to keep delivering, man. And until you see it, you'll remain blind. That's like a Yogi Berra comment. Through insight and awakening, it is laid to rest. Let me read the sentence again. Many Buddhas understand the round of birth and death quite literally is a process of reincarnation, wherein the karma which shapes the individual does so again and again in life after life, until through insight and awakening, it is laid to rest. But in Zen and in other schools of the Mahayana, it is often taken in a more figurative way, as the process of rebirth is from moment to moment, so that one is being reborn so long as one identifies himself with a continuing ego which reincarnates itself afresh at each moment of time. Thus, the validity and interest of the doctrine does not require acceptance of a special theory of survival. You see, there's no belief there. It's faith. Its importance is rather that it exemplifies the whole problem of action in vicious circles and its resolution. And in this respect, Buddhist philosophy should have a special interest for students of communication theory, cybernetics, logical philosophy, and similar matters. The third noble truth is concerned with the ending of self-frustration, of grasping, and of the whole viciously circular pattern of karma which generates the round. Dukkha is rooted in avidya, ignorance, a mind spellbound by maya, mistaking abstractions, conventions, and egregores for reality. Every coin has two sides, yet life is relational, not sided. It is contrastive, not conflictive. Ego control always backfires, like the I am lying paradox, or the one who wants to throw the ball but is so obsessed with controlling the ball will not let it go. Mistrust fuels grasping, birthing samsara, the ceaseless round of death and rebirth, and what I like to call psychosomatic recidivism. Psychosomatic, psycho meaning mind, soma meaning body, tic meaning study of. Psychosomatic, the study of the mind and body recessantly, or through the act of recidivism. Over and over and over again, being obsessed with the mind, body, and this creates the psychosomatic recidivism relating to the interaction of the mind and the body. This is the person that can't get past themselves, can't get past the ego. Karma is motivated action seeking results, which necessitates more. Reincarnation, literal or figurative, is just a moment-to-moment ego rebirth. Trying to be good or know God ensnares oxymoronic selfism because there is no try and a personal God does not exist. That's going to be really tough for the Christians. A personal God does not exist. Chuck, why does a personal God not exist? Because you can't put God into words. God is not a personality that fits into dualism. God is past those things. So anytime I try to categorize, like we've mentioned, anytime I try and categorize God, put God into a form, put God into a way or a means, or anthropomorphize God, what do? I push God away. The moment I do that, this is oxymoronic selfism, because there is no try and a personal God does not exist. If you do think a personal God does exist, and you think God can be named, you think God is in a place, or God can be in a place, how small is your God? Right? Because you're putting him in that place, right? You're naming God. In other words, you're shrinking God. You're profaning God when you do that. In fact, just calling God God is profane, because I'm shrinking God into the concept of God. God is past concepts. God is past conventions. You see, so trying to personalize that and put that into a form, you see, you're belittling it in the same way as someone that wants to meet you and says, I don't want to see you, just stand behind a black curtain. I don't want to actually see you. They're disrespecting you because they will not even, they can't even see the individual. There's a barrier there, in other words. And if you think God can be put into words and God can be put into form, you see, you're creating a barrier. You're just putting a barrier up between the actual notion of ultimate reality and you. And what's interesting, and this is the key thing, that ultimate reality that can't be named, that's also your own identity, anatman. That's also your own identity, or excuse me, the atman, the self. Anatman is the non-self. Your identity, your true identity, is identical to that of God. Do you see that? Can't put God into words, can't put you into words. Okay, you're not a form, God isn't a form, because you're not this meat sack. Okay, you're not in time. This meat sack is in time, but your true identity is timeless, it's eternal. It's part of the eternal now. You see, and God is no different. Do you see how that creates a conundrum right there? And this is one of the reasons why we don't realize our potential. This is one of the reasons why we get caught up in egregores. It's because we don't realize who we are. And when you don't know who you are, you don't realize who you are, you'll take on false identities. And you'll put false identities on God because you're ignorant. You don't know who you are. You don't know God. Do you see? And you can see then how the West has been captured with words and ideas and forms and conventions. And those have been used to form a spirituality based on forms and conventions. And the entire Western modality, spirituality is concerned, is based on conventions, is based on time, is based on duality. Heck, even the afterlife is heaven or hell. And do you see how they've tricked us? They've tricked the society into believing that the words spoken actually can speak to that space. That your identity can actually be captured. Really great stuff to think about, guys. This is mind-expanding stuff. This is real important stuff to think about. Okay, the self that sins in Christianity creates the imagined ignorance of heaven and hell, which motivates through belief and fear. Do you see? They've motivated you through belief and fear because they have put you and the world and God into words. That's how they did it. Whereas the Zen master who is released from psychosomatic recidivism is motivated through faith in humanity, trust in the heart, and the authentic experience of the now. Do you realize how appropriate that is? And that's exactly the opposite of the Western religion teaches. Because the Western religion does not have faith in humanity. Humanity is sinful. They're fallen, right? The Western religion doesn't trust the heart. The heart is fallen. It's sinful. And the authentic experience, no, it's not about the authentic experience of the now. It's about believing correctly and fitting your experience into the belief. Do you see how inappropriate that is? Do you see how inappropriate that is? The Zen master has released from psychosomatic recidivism, is motivated through faith in humanity, trust in the heart, and the authentic experience of the now. There's no other appropriate way to live, my friend. He in whom desire has been stilled suffers no rebirth. You see, the calming of the mind. After death, these are the Upanishads, friend. These precede Buddhism. After death, having attained to the highest, desiring only the self, he goes to no other world. That's stopping the world of samsara. He goes to no other world. You transcend. That's where you go. Someone asked me the other day when we were talking about how you don't go into the light when you die, you know, and someone said to me in comments, they go, well, where do I go? If I don't go to heaven or to the light or whatever, and I turn around and I face the universe, where do I go? You go to your soul's home. There's no words for that. That's pure bliss. That's where you go. What is there to be afraid of? Why go to a light? You're a nature creature. Right? And so when you die, you return to the soul, what animates this body, you return to that's home. And what is that? Who knows? You cannot put that into words. I've heard theories that, and I mentioned this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but I've heard theories that many people who are here on the planet, their souls came here. Obviously, they came out of the world because nature brought about the body that the soul fills, but the actual soul itself came from the universe. And the theory is that there were spirits, entities, groups, I don't know what to call it, but that the soul, our identity, that's our home. That's our identity is in that realm. And I'm having a hard time putting it into words because it's putting it into words. And so this idea is that we came from the universe to come to this planet to help in the bridging of humanity from the sleep state to the awakened state. And that this is a communal effort, a universally communal effort, meaning other forms and impossibilities from the universe have all coalesced together in this moment of humanity, when humanity transcends the bounds and capture system that humanity has been tied into for likely hundreds of thousands of years, to free from that, to then become the potential that is within every one of us. That's the bigger picture, in my opinion, that we're moving towards. The aware becomes free from the bondage of matter and transcends death. Transcending death means realizing the difference between body and soul and identifying oneself with the soul. When we actually behold the undecaying soul within us and realize our true nature, we no longer identify ourselves with the body. which dies, and we do not die with the body. Folks, you need to understand these Upanishads are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. They predate Christianity, folks. And these people already were well aware, long before Western religion came along. They were long aware that we are not the body. Your identity is not the body. That there is a deeper principle, a deeper persistence that exists in the universe. And they knew this, you see, and it was the Western systems of Babylon that came in and took ownership of this identity and shifted it to this false identity that now most everyone believes. It was systematic. But these people, before there was Christianity, before there was Rome, well understood that your identity is not this body. It is what animates. It's the animating principle of the body. It's the animating principle of the world. And you see how Rome came in, Babylon came in, and they denounced that truth, and they took ownership of it themselves. They made themselves God. I mean, what did the Catholic Church do? They made the Pope, who was the voice of God. They made themselves the voice of God. And you can see how it was a psyop, how they took this understanding and they completely pornographied it by making people sinners, making them fallen from God, separate from the eternal now. These isolated fallen creatures that are doomed to sin and doomed to hell. It's the same kind of psyop that the medical system told you. You're doomed to die because your immune system isn't good enough. You're not good enough. You need shots. You need these jabs in order to be healthy. And the church did the same thing. You need the God that we've named. You need the words that we've given you in order to be saved. Identical pattern, folk. Identical pattern. Identical. And it works. Look how many people believe in Christianity. Look how many people believe in the Western medical system. And what's really interesting now is look how many people are leaving those systems. Look how many people are abandoning those systems. Isn't that interesting? And we're entering Aquarius right now, which is the age of knowledge. Why are all these people abandoning the medical system and the Western religious system? Why are they abandoning those systems? Knowledge, awareness. That's the deeper picture. Even Lewis didn't see it. Knowledge and awareness is coming. We are in a larger epoch. We are in a bigger world than what the religions, what the science, what the medicines have handed us. It's a bigger world than they have offered you. This is why your own discernment and your own self-direction in your life is so important, because you're not a social creature, you're a nature creature. Next slide. Page 50. The third noble truth is concerned with the ending of self. Oh, hang on. Let me go to comments and let me see if we got any questions in comments. Sorry. Let me just go to comments because I haven't been in comments for a while. Let's go comments, see what you guys got. Okay. What do we got? I love your ancient demonic cult research, Chuck. Can't wait for a video. More demonic cults. You want a video on demonism? Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm not my body. It is the avatar the Holy Spirit used to express itself in this reality. You are not your body. You are absolutely not your body. You are that which infuses the body. You were also part of the Lighthouse family of Atlanta. Oh, you're talking to someone else. Sorry. Okay, here we go. If I had trusted in the Western medical system and not cannabis oil and apricot seeds, I would be dead today. I have no illusions about that at all. Very good, Max. And way to go, Max, using your own discernment and making your own choices for your own self, man. I'm really proud of you for that, dude. And you saved yourself. And to be honest with you, Max, I'd be dead too, because the protocol for me from the doctor was to get chemotherapy for my cancer. So I'd be dead, because chemotherapy, according to Dr. Glidden, I think 95% of people that get chemotherapy within 10 years contract another disease from the chemotherapy, and it could even be cancer again from the chemotherapy. In other words, chemotherapy doesn't work. And that's the words of Dr. Glidden. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Dr. Glidden. Chuck, what was the word Atman mean, please? Okay. Yeah, that's your soul. Atman is your soul, the animating principle that animates you, Fortune. That is the personality that you are. That is just the way you are, your likes, your interests, your dislikes. This is all part and parcel of the Atman. Yes, exactly. We are not our thoughts. We're not our feelings. Exactly. Exactly. But we engage these things to have a sense and to learn, which is important. We just don't want to be tied into them. Okay. Here. The great deception of Christianity is that we needed a divine injection of goodness called Jesus. Well, I'll tell you something, Bob. I don't think we needed it. I really don't. I think, and this is really an example of how good a job the Catholic Church has done to degrade us, to make us think that way about ourselves, that we need an injection of goodness called Jesus, because we don't. It's an issue of identity, Bob. And what happened was the Catholic Church, the Catholic priests, invented the idea that we are fallen. They invented that idea, right? And they also wrote the words of Jesus to coincide with this idea of being fallen, because they infiltrated all the scriptures and wrote them how they wanted them. So they didn't write the scriptures for your benefit, for my benefit, for the benefit of humanity. No. They wrote the entire Bible. They edited the entire Bible to capture you, not to free you. It's the exact opposite. It's so much like what you see today in society, where they start these businesses that they claim are for childcare, but they're not for childcare. They're to steal money. That's why they're there. They're purely to steal. They did not set up the childcare to take care of children and better the state. Okay, the Catholic Church did not develop and invent the church for your benefit, for your enlightenment. That's not what the entire thing was set up for. The same reason they set up the schools in Minnesota, to take from you, take your money, take your mind, take your wherewithal, take your beliefs, capture you. That's why. That's the entire reason why the church was developed by the Catholics, by the Catholic Church, by Rome. It never had anything to do with benefiting you, ever, never. Rome, the Roman Empire, do you really think the Roman Empire had your best interest in mind? Really? Do you really think the Roman emperor who became the Pope, do you really think he had your best interest in mind? That he had the best interest in mind of the society? You really think that? That's why they started the Catholic Church, by the way. It wasn't to better the society. It was to control the society, 100%, to control the society. So, in answer and response to your question here, or your statement here, Bob, we did not need a divine injection called Jesus. That's the truth of the matter. They so degraded our opinions of ourselves that they caused us to believe in an egregore, which is to think that you need Jesus, that you're a sinner. That's an egregore. And they instilled that into you. They put that into you by inventing the idea of heaven and hell, and inventing the idea that you're going to hell for your behavior here. They invented all of that. And it was all a lie, and it was all a deception to degrade your opinion of yourself so much that you would take on the opinion of yourself that they handed you. That's called Stockholm Syndrome, where I identify with the values of the abuser. And the values of the Catholic Church, the abuser, was that society is sinful. That's the value of the Catholic Church. Society is fallen. That's the value of the Catholic Church. Man is separate from God. That's a value from the Catholic Church. And so when I become a Christian, I take on the values of the authority. That's called Stockholm Syndrome. I take on their values. And when I take on their values, I take on their beliefs and conclusions. In other words, I take on their epistemology. I take on their life perspective. I take it on and I integrate it. I identify with the values of the abuser. And once I identify with the values of the abuser, I think that abuse is deserved. When I take on the values of my abuser, I think that the abuse that the abuser is perpetrating on me is deserved. That's why every Christian thinks they deserve to go to hell. They have taken on the values of the abuser, namely the Catholic Church. This is psychology, folks. You have been taken. You have been taken. And every single Christian, Islamist, Jew has taken on the values of their abuser, whichever God they call, Allah, Yahweh, whatever. They've taken on that God's values, which are developed by man. The values were developed by psychopaths, namely the Catholic Church and Islam. Psychopaths. And they developed these religions to capture the society, control the society, so the society would never know who they are. They think they're sinners. They think they're going to hell. They think they got to believe in this, that, or the other, right? And they take on the values of that society, and then those societies then are turned against each other. This is how the West did it. So that the Islamist hates the Christian hates the Jew hates the Islamist hates the Jew. I mean, it's just, they all are against each other because they believe differently. And this is how Rome turned the Western world against itself. This is how they did it. Removing the identity of the society and turning the entire thing into a Stockholm syndrome. I wrote an entire chapter of my book on this. Stockholm syndrome. And so it is Stockholm syndrome, Bob, is why you think that you and society needed a divine injection of goodness called Jesus. That's why you think that. And I'm not putting you down at all, Bob. I'm your friend. I'm your buddy. I'm saying this to you as a friend and someone who cares about you, to let you know you're caught in an egregore when you think an injection of goodness called Jesus was necessary. It wasn't. Rome had so degraded the identity of the people that the people became what we are now. The society we have now is the society that comes out of Babylon, Rome, Greece, the Western world, the Middle East, right? And we are downstream from all of that. And it is those religions, those sciences, those medical systems that have created the world we have today. And for some reason, Christians, Islamists, medical doctors, they don't see that pattern. They don't understand that everything we know has come out of societies that hated humanity, namely Babylon. We're downstream. And people don't realize it. They don't realize it. Great stuff, Bob. Great thing great question. Awesome. Love it. Okay. You guys have been, the comments have been going crazy. The comments have been going crazy. Let me see if I find. Okay, here, Don Davis. Hi, Don. Nice bike, buddy. Chuck, there are countless Zen rabbit holes. Authentic experience of the now is understood as a synthesis of presence, self-alignment, and the conscious rejection of curated and performative existence. Outstanding. Outstanding. Chemo destroys everything and makes final days super sucky. Yes. Yes. I mean, I sat in front of 3 doctors, a enzymologist, a Chinese medicine master, and a naturopathic doctor. And all 3 said, never, ever, ever, ever get chemo. Ever. Under no circumstance. 3 different doctors, and they all said that. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm telling you what doctors told me. That's what they told me. You do with it whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do. That's what the doctors told me, and I made my own choice. Okay. It is. The monkey mind is tough. It's tough. Okay. Let's see if you guys got questions. Thank you for that, King. Thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate that. Here we go. Vatican is a bank. Yes, exactly. It is. It is a bank. Okay. Hey, Scott. It's good to see you, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, Linda. I don't blame you. I've seen religion, medicine, and science kill a lot of people. I really have. Okay. It looks like you guys are doing pretty well. I'm not seeing any questions, so that's good. That's good. You guys must be getting it. I don't see any all caps. Should we just continue on the slides? Yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. You guys are having a great time. Keep it up. Keep chatting. I'm going to keep going with the slides. Okay, next slide. Add a stage. The third noble truth is concerned with the ending of self-frustration, of grasping, and of the whole viciously circled pattern of karma which generates the round. The ending is called nirvana, a word of such dubious etymology that a simple translation is exceedingly difficult. It has been variously connected with Sanskrit roots, which would make it mean the blowing out of a flame, or simply blowing out, or the cessation of waves, turnings, or circlings of the mind. The two latter interpretations seem, on the whole, to make most sense. If nirvana is despiration, it is the act of one who has seen the futility of trying to hold his breath, or life, prana, indefinitely. You see, you try to hold your breath, you die. You try to hold life, you die. You see? You see, you cannot hold to life, since to hold the breath is to lose it. Thus, nirvana is the equivalent of moksha, release or liberation. Seen from one side, it appears to be despair, the recognition that life utterly defeats our efforts to control it, that all human striving is no more than a vanishing hand clutching at clouds. Seen from the other side, this despair bursts into joy and creative power on the principle that to lose one's life is to find it, to find freedom of action, unimpeded by self-frustration and the anxiety inherent in trying to save and control the self. If nirvana is related to the cessation of turnings, the term is synonymous with the aim of yoga, defined in the Yoga Sutra as citta vritti nirota, the cessation of turnings of the mind. These turnings are the thoughts whereby the mind endeavors to grasp the world and itself. Yoga is the practice of trying to stop these thoughts by thinking about them, which you see the oxymoronic of that, by thinking about them until the utter futility of the process is felt so vividly that it simply drops away, and the mind discovers its natural, unconfused state. It is obvious, however, that both etymologies give us the same essential meaning. Nirvana is the way of life which ensues when clutching at life has come to an end. Insofar as all definition is clutching, nirvana is necessarily indefinable. It is the natural, unself-grasped state of the mind. And here, of course, the mind has no specific meaning, for what is not grasped is not known in the conventional sense of knowledge. You see, you don't know what you don't know. More popularly and literally understood, nirvana is the disappearance of the being from the round of incantations, not into a state of annihilation, which is critical, not annihilation, but simply into a state of escaping definition. There it is, and we mentioned this earlier, and thus immeasurable and infinite. Brilliant. Nirvana ends frustration, anxiety, karma, that's behavioral wake, and samsara, the round of being. The flames blowing out or cessation of mind turnings manifests as moksha, whereby despair flips to joy and liberates creative power. By losing life to find it, from death comes life. This happens unintentionally, as we talked about, spontaneously, miraculously. In fact, desiring or seeking it only serves to thwart it. And take that same idea as love. If I desire after someone and chase after them and force myself on them, I'm not going to be cultivating love. In order for love to be cultivated, I tease love out of them. You see, it's more subtle. It's not direct. You don't go up to them and say, love me. I want you to love me. Please love me. That's not how you're going to foster love. And life is the same way. It's not going to foster life when you're panicked and coming out and saying, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. You're pushing the need away when you do that. Life is coaxed just like you are coaxed. Nature is teased out just as your love is teased out. It's not a direct action on it. It's an underlying awareness and understanding and resonation. And you draw these things like a magnet to yourself, like a woman is curvy and she's built to draw and attract to her. You do the same thing with life. You attract and pull life to yourself. You don't chase it. You attract it and tease it and entice it to you. You see, miraculously, spontaneously, unintentionally. And this is how we coax life into what we want it to be, by not wanting. You see? In fact, desiring or seeking it only serves to thwart it. Nirvana is ultimately an indefinable, nonplussed, ungrasping state of immeasurable infinity. It is to discover flow within and beyond form, as true liberation is effortless. There it is. Effortless. There is no try. Spontaneous and wordless. You can't plan spontaneity. And words, you can't even talk about it. And this is true liberation. This is how you know when a religion is trying to liberate you or claims to liberate you. Do you see how that claim means it's not liberation? And I know we say liberation all the time in Buddhism, and that's my point. Don't get tied into the words. Don't get tied into that materialistic sense. Look past it. Just like looking past the outward appearance of your friend. You see their soul. You see their core. That's what attracts you to them as a friend. You're not even seeing their body. It doesn't even make any difference. You're attracted to that inner aspect of them, their personality, their character, that what makes them unique to themselves. That's the attraction. And life is the same way. It's what's past the veil. It's what's past that outer appearance that makes it beautiful. That's why you think it's a purgatory when you're seeing the surface coating of the earth in your life. It'll appear like a purgatory. You must see past that dualism, that good and evil aspect, in order to see the true depth. Past the now you see it, now you don't principle. This is how we rid of anxiety. This is how we rid of suffering. This is how we rid of resistance, by seeing through the material into the spiritual, the unwordable. That's the key. This is to live in a paradise. Action motivated by seeking interferes with authenticity, necessitating more and more emptiness, which leads to vicious circles of recidivism. Trying to be virtuous is a rotting trap of authored grace, leading to self-consumption. And you guys know how I feel about authored grace. Awareness resolves these circular phenoms. Karma, therefore, is not some sort of universal beatdown. It is simply the result of perpetual grasping at oneself and clinging to life. Pro tip: orthodoxy motivates by grasping to words, whereas Zen motivates by releasing to patterns. Do you see how incredibly insightful that is? Do you see how trying to use words to understand the world just leads to frustration? And what are all these religions doing? They're trying to help you understand the world through words, beliefs, no faith. 51. What time is it? It is 7:15. We're doing good. We actually might finish chapter 2, guys. To attain nirvana is also to attain Buddhahood, awakening. But this is not attainment in any ordinary sense, because no acquisition and no motivation are involved. It is impossible to desire nirvana or to intend to reach it, for anything desirable or conceivable as an object of action is, by definition, not nirvana. Nirvana can only arise unintentionally, spontaneously, when the impossibility of grasping has been thoroughly perceived. A Buddha, therefore, is a man of no rank. He is not above like an angel. He is not below like a demon. He does not appear anywhere in the 6 divisions of the round, and it would be mistaken to think of him as superior to the angels, for the law of the round is that what goes up must come down, and vice versa. He has transcended all dualities whatsoever, and thus would mean nothing to him to think of himself as a superior person or spiritual success. The 4th noble truth describes the Eightfold Path of the Buddha. That was funny. Freudian slip there. Of the Buddha's Dharma. That was really funny. I've actually never done that before. That was funny. Sorry. Of the Buddha's Dharma. That is the method or doctrine whereby self-frustration is brought to an end. Each section of the path has a name preceded by the word samyak, Pali, sama, which has the meaning of perfect or complete. The first 2 sections have to do with thought. The following 4 have to do with action. And the final 2 have to do with contemplation or awareness. I'm really sorry, guys. That was really funny. Okay, so we therefore have the complete view, complete understanding, complete speech, complete action, complete vocation, complete application, complete recollectedness, complete contemplation. Let's open this up. Okay, the Eightfold Path structure. Now, the Eightfold Path, as we studied earlier, so we won't get into that real deep, but we're going to look at a helicopter view here. The Eightfold Path is perfect and complete, and its result is the release from Maya. So the first 2 in the Eightfold Path deal with thought, right? And then 3 through 6 deal with behavior. And then 7 and 8 deal with contemplation. Okay, this is the Eightfold Path to releasing from Maya, releasing from anxiety. First 2, a complete view and understanding of the situation. This is pattern recognition. So when I want to release from Maya, release from anxiety, what do? I do what Parsival did, and I ask, what's wrong here? What's the problem? And how am I going to find the problem? Patterns. Find the patterns. The patterns will show you the situation, right? And once I know the situation, you see, once I understand the situation, I am releasing from ignorance. I am releasing from that which I do not know. In other words, I am emptying the pipe. I'm emptying the vessel so that knowledge can come in. And then we begin behavior. See, so I've realized the behavior. Parsival realizes why the king is sick. What's next? Speech, action, vocation, and application. In other words, what are you going to do? What is your response? What is your behavior? When I understand the situation, I have a perception of it and I have clear view, my behavior follows. Because my behavior follows what is in my mind, what I believe. I become what I believe. I become what I understand. And what gives me understanding? My perspective, the patterns. You see? And then finally, contemplation, pure awareness, and non-dual, unobstructed mind. In other words, no mind. So the first one is pattern recognition. The second behavior is knowing by not knowing. And then finally, the third, no mind. This is the release, the letting go of the desires, the ego, all that stuff. This is the contemplation. That's that walking meditation I've talked about many times. And realizing, contemplating the view, the patterns, the actions, and these things. This is the responsible individual. And then we have meditation, which is the release from all of those ideas, all those words, all that stuff These are the two different forms of meditation. So we have this form of meditation, which is the walking meditation, and then we have the form of meditation, which is the sitting meditation. And these two meditations are what allow us to realize appropriate behavior outside of words. It is through the contemplation of these two spheres that my action becomes no action, meaning I become virtuous without trying. This is what the Eightfold Path is showing you. Appropriate action isn't mentally enforced moral laws to be obeyed. It is expedient awareness, curbing that which hinders flow and builds negative karma. Can I please read that again? This is so important. Appropriate action isn't, key here, isn't mentally enforced moral laws to be obeyed. In other words, the key to appropriate action is not the beatings will continue until morale improves. That is not how we foster appropriate behavior. We don't foster it through obedience and laws. This is what's going to be so hard for the Christian. We don't realize that through laws and obedience. We realize that through expedient awareness, which curbs that which hinders flow and builds negative karma. In other words, trust in the heart, trust in others, and allowing the heart to lead, because the heart knows. This is why we know what Rome did when they called all of us sinners and caused us to not trust ourselves or trust the world. Do you see how that then destroyed the society? And everyone thinks that morality comes out of moral laws and obedience when it comes out of awareness. Do you see? Do you see? This is why the person who is morally aligned can be a tyrant. Ever thought about that? Whereas the person who's aware, right, they're not going to become a tyrant because they are aware. I can know moral laws and memorize them, but that doesn't make me aware. So I can behave completely inappropriately in the instruction of my moral laws because I'm not aware of the situation. This is what Parsifal was missing. He had it all in him, but he didn't ask, what's wrong here? So his behavior was inappropriate, even though he's behaving morally. Do you see? It's inappropriate because he isn't in tune to the real situation and what is happening. This is why awareness is so important. This is why observance, no words, is so important, people. This is why. This is why. Appropriate action isn't mentally enforced moral laws to be obeyed. It is expedient awareness, curbing that which hinders flow and builds negative karma. Negative karma builds from grasping. Obedience, moral laws, grasping. Positive karma builds from release. I know this is tough for a number of you. I know this is tough for a number of you. Because it's basically punting the idea of moral law and obedience. And many people who are caught up in words are like, WTF, bro? A society without moral law and obedience is a destructive society. That's a person who says that is not aware of the purity of the human heart and the goodness of humanity. They've bought into these Babylonian ideas that man's prone to fall, man. You let a person out and you don't give them a bunch of moral laws and a bunch of fear to make sure they obey, they're going to go out and kill. They're going to go out and take. They're going to go out and steal. Because we have such a low view of ourselves because of the worlds that we have come from. Because of the world, the Babylonian world that we come from. That has so programmed into people that they're inherently evil, inherently bad, can't be trusted, has been beaten into the society. And that's why the society behaves like that, because the society thinks that about themselves. And in order to change the society must stop thinking of themselves in that way. That's why we're meeting in these groups. That's why I do this on Saturday. To help you become aware of radical ideas like this sentence right here. Appropriate action isn't more mentally enforced moral laws to be obeyed. It is expedient awareness, curbing that which hinders flow and builds negative karma. It is an entirely different way to skin this cat. an entirely different way to approach the world, an entirely different mythology. And what have I told you guys? We have to change our mythology. This is our new mythology. This one that is based in nature, one that is based in truth, one that is based in realization. That's exactly what this is. The dualism, the white, the tree of life. Now you see it, now you don't. As above, so below. God in the center. You see it? Sacred geometry. You can see it. Opportunities, the multiverse, the ether, air, water, earth, and fire. These are the energies that undergird experience, which is what brings us knowledge. We have to change our methods, change our thoughts about ourselves and about the world. And that really starts with your mythology. It really does. It starts with your core understanding of who you are, what the world is, why you're here, if the world has meaning. All of these things percolate up from your mythology. And the mythology in the West has been one of destruction, no trust, can't trust authorities, all this stuff. I mean, we have been built on inappropriateness. And in my opinion, a lot of that comes from the Catholic Church, in my opinion, because that's quote unquote where we get our moral laws, supposedly. Appropriate, authentically virtuous behavior disentangles karma to realize a balanced state, obviously. Complete and perfect action is spontaneous, and wu-wei-like action without action, trying without trying. The path of higher consciousness is unintentional, spontaneous, integrates awareness, and dissolves self-division. So an unconfined reality is experienced, and that's the only way we can know true knowledge, is our personal experience. The idea is to move beyond the cave of self-righteousness, which is self-thought, and into the waters of insecurity, knowing by not knowing, and flow. Any questions? Let's go to comments. I've said a few things here. Let's see if you guys have any comments here. Okay. The archetypes have no hierarchy. Exactly. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Any questions? Let's see. I know I did it. I said it. I said booty tongue. The booty Buddhist. Oh my God. I'm so sorry I did that. That was so funny. Oh, it was so funny I did that. That was a total Freudian slip. That'll be really funny to listen to that on playback. True that, Max. True that, buddy. Oh my gosh. So funny. What's going on, Ken? Good to see you, buddy. Glad that you're here. Glad to see you, man. Here we go. Let's see what this is. I dare you to have a renewing of your mind and not be bound by dogma. Isn't that a challenge? Tony Hart. Gotcha. Hey, Tony. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's really great to see you, Ken. Really glad you're here, buddy. I know you can't always make it. Hey, Chuck, do you think that if C.S. Lewis had kept writing through his faith, that he might have eventually figured out the egregore? Yes. I think Lewis, that it's part of the reason why I'm just so incredibly blown away that he didn't see it. You know? Because he's a smart guy, man. Lewis was a smart guy. And he cared. He genuinely cared. But man, he didn't see it. He didn't see past the veil. Bummer. But great guy. Had some great things to say. I wish I knew what you were referring to, but I'll listen back and find out. Yeah, you caught that too, Gretchen. That was really funny when that happened. Radio. Thank you. If that's for me, that probably was for someone else though. Indo Magic. Yeah. I don't know who you're referring to, Max, but let me know. I'd love to know who that is. Love to know who that is. If someone in the chat, let me know. Is that a Roman that kills babies or a person that kills Roman babies? Oh, you guys are having another conversation. I don't know what that's about. Thank you. What's up with the mods? What's going on? Okay. I'm just looking for some questions here, and then I'll get back to the slides. We got a few minutes left here before the evening's end. Here. Chuck, bless you and yours with a much favor for sharing your time, energies, and knowledge with us. You're welcome, Max. It's my honor, friend. I know I speak for a lot of us here in saying we love you and thank you so very much. Thank you, Max. Dude, I really appreciate that, Max. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate that, Max. Thank you, sir. I really hope to meet you someday. And I hope to meet everyone in the chat. I really do. I would love to meet you guys someday. Here. What you got, Fortune? To leave the caste system, I will know myself. My fractured perceptions of self will heal. Thank you, Chuck. You're so loved. Yes, and you're loved too, Fortune. Absolutely. Absolutely. What I want for you, Fortune, is for you to lose all your anxiety. That's what I want for you. For you to lose all your anxiety. That's what I want. So I want more than anything for you, Fortune. Yes. So I'll tell you about the merch. So this is what we're going to do. Stacy, are you here, love? Stacy, if you could start a poll. Here's what we're going to do, guys. So this is what happened with swag. I'm trying to find my hoodies. Okay. So this is what we got. Take this stuff here. Okay. So, okay. This is what I'm going to tell you guys what I have that you can get, that you can order, and how to order it. And then if you want a t-shirt or yoga pants, we're going to do a totally different thing because the company we were going to use has fallen through. Or I should probably leave that up, shouldn't I? The company we're going to use has fallen through. So we're going to have to work something else out. So to start off, first of all, here, I have embroidery. This is a hoodie right here. I have two different embroideries. I have a hoodie here. It says Nature Creature on the front, and it's a hoodie. It doesn't have drawstrings, and it's got a pocket in the front here. There's a pocket. And then it's gorgeous embroidery, and my embroidery is so awesome. On the hoodies, she lowers the embroidery some so that you can still see it in full. It doesn't get covered up by the hood, which is really cool. And then I have a quarter zip. Do I have a quarter zip with me? I don't think I got a quarter zip with me. But I have a quarter zip also. And it zips up and it doesn't have a hood. And it has the same embroidery on the back. And the embroidery is gorgeous if you can see it. It's absolutely stunning work that she did. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it. Okay. And then the embroidery is on the front too. That's all embroidered. You see? Okay. These are $300. You can pay me via Venmo. You can pay me, PayPal, or to my GoFundMe. They're $300 delivered to your house. Each one is made to order, so they're all hand done. And I'll send you an email if you want to order it. Meaning, if you want to order it, shoot me an email and I'll reply you back with how to go about the process of ordering it. I'm discombobulated right now because the whole thing is falling apart. So I'm trying to make sense of it. Sorry. Okay, so email me at contact chuckjr@yahoo.com if you want an embroidered hoodie, and I'll send you the directions on how to get it. They're $300 delivered to your house. Okay, that's the hoodie. Now, and the quarter zip. Now I also have t-shirts, and we're gonna order these. I'm gonna get a bunch made, and I'm gonna sell them to you. But this the t-shirt has the same. It's just not embroidered. That's just the t-shirt. It's a stick-on. Okay, and it has the wording on the back, right? And it has this wording on the front. Okay. And then I also have a long sleeve, which is what I'm wearing. It has this down the side of the sleeve. You can see it says Nature Creature down the side. It has Nature Creature in the front. And then it has the logo in the back. Okay. Stacy, if you're here, love, can you please start and ask people if they want t-shirts, if they want to order yoga pants. And I don't think I have a picture of the yoga pants with me. They're the most awesome freaking pants, and I don't have a picture, but I'll get that next week. It's just I'm really discombobulated with all that happened with my merch because the company fell through. So I'm grasping at straws right now. So anyways, shoot me an email if you're interested in any of my merch, and I will send you an email and let you know how to get it. We're still working on it. I'm trying to make it work. So I don't have answers for you, and that's why it sounds like I'm floundering and I don't have a good answer, because I don't, because the whole thing is blown up. So for right now, I have the embroidery stuff available right away, and I can have that made for you within a few weeks. I've got some that have come in. I'm going to be mailing them out this next week. So that's going, and it's great. But as far as the t-shirts and the yoga pants are concerned, you'll have to let me or let Stacy know, and I'm going to generate a count of how many I need to get. Then I'll get them, and then you can order them. But for right now, just let us know if you're interested. Shoot me an email or whatever, and I'll be happy to send you the information on how to get it. But right now, it's a real pain, and I'm trying to figure out my way through how I'm going to make my swag available, because there are certain things that are needed to get all that done, and I don't have those things. And then it's just a long story. So I will get it worked out as soon as I can. But for right now, I have the embroidery available if you're interested. And then if you want a t-shirt or long sleeve or yoga pants, let me know, or let Stacy know. And then I'll order a bunch, and then I'll sell them. I'll be happy to sell them to you privately. And then we'll just handle that like that for now. And then I've just got to get that stuff together. Sorry, I haven't been able to pull it all together yet. I'm sorry. I don't have a better answer for you. Nice. Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome. It's all of the fabric is 100% organic. It's all organically sourced. That's been another one of the difficulties in doing this, is that I'm very particular about what people are going to be buying from me, because I'm not going to sell garbage. I'm only going to sell the top stuff. And so the fabrics are incredible. It's like a 10-ounce fabric on the hoodie. So it's thick, it's heavy, rugged. And the embroidery is robust and strong. I've washed my hoodies in the wash with the embroidery. Everything's fine. You could put them in a dryer on low. It's fine. They'll probably last longer if you don't dry them, but I've dried mine, and they look great. And this one, the one I just showed you, is washed and dried. So yeah, it's great stuff. That's an update on my swag. I'm sorry I don't got a better answer for you. I wish I did. I'm sorry I don't. I will have to figure it out. I will. Yeah, I need help with my merch. I do. I just don't know how to get it done, and I'm just really lost right now. So I'll figure it out. That's awesome, Gail. I don't need help with the embroidery. I would use you if I did, but I don't. My embroiderer is great, and she's awesome. She's a 20-year vet. She's in chat. She's great. I'm not worried. Embroidery's dialed. Embroidery's gamer, man. They're awesome. The hoodie and quarter zip, I mean, they're game. They're awesome. It's just the t-shirts and yoga pants are just not coming together. That's difficult. So yeah, just shoot me an email what you want, and we are going to get it done. Stacy, yes, hi. I didn't know if you wanted to start, what are they called? A poll to see if people want t-shirts or something, if they want yoga pants. Yeah, it is the tree of life. It is the tree of life. It's a Yggdrasil tree. In fact, there's a whole bunch of meaning to all of that logo. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but my logo has very deep meaning. And that's some of it right there. Hang on, let me get rid of Stacy's comment. Sorry. So there's very deep meaning with this logo, guys. I've put a lot of work and effort into this, and it's a very heavy duty thing. And I wanted that for all of my chat. I wanted that for my people that follow, what I do. And so I spent a lot of time on it, and it's gorgeous stuff. I absolutely love it. And I want to make it available. It's not happening right now. My swag is not happening right now. So I do have the embroidery. I know it's expensive, and I know it's more expensive than most of you can afford. I understand that. I'm not trying to push it on you. I'm just saying that's all I got right now. And I will have more of the t-shirts and yoga pants. I'll have some made, and I'll have a limited supply to be able to sell to you guys. Yeah, right here. Just email me for now. We're just going to do that for now. The website's about ready to go and everything, but there's no sales. I can't utilize the site. So yeah, you guys are just, I don't have answers for you. Yeah, they are short sleeve t-shirts. I have short sleeve t-shirts like this, or I will. And then this is the front. It's short sleeve. Yeah. All sizes, any size you want. I got them in all sizes. Or I will. I got them in all sizes. And yeah, that's great stuff. It's awesome. It's awesome swag. I want to have caps made. We had all kinds. We're gonna have blankets made. It's just that right when we were getting ready to go for it, it didn't work out. And so yeah, I got kind of screwed on that. So the t-shirts, I haven't priced the t-shirts yet. I don't know. The embroidery is $300 delivered to you. The t-shirts, they're probably going to be around 50. That's going to be my guess. Long sleeve will probably be about 60. Because yeah, I mean they're specialized. They're one of a kind. So yeah, it's not cheap stuff. But I'm working on it. I'm really trying. I'm really trying, I promise. Yeah. GoFund. You can pay me on GoFundMe. You can pay me on GoFundMe if you want. But don't send me any money until you've emailed me, and then I'll tell you how that process goes. I mean, if you want to send me money, I'm happy to take your money. But if you're wanting to order the embroidery, just shoot me an email, and I'll send you the directions and get them to you. I'm sending out 8 today or next week. I've got a bunch going out next week, so it's great. They're awesome. They're awesome. It's all natural fabrics. Yes, it's all natural. It's all organic. It's all organic. Thank you. I'm glad I'm glowing tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Fortune. Yeah, it's here's the thing, Gail. Here's the thing. This is like freaking 16 colors, dude. And you can't really silk screen that. Now you can silk screen the yoga pants. I can silk screen this, right? I can silk screen this here, but that 16 color job on the back, not so much. So my swag is not easy. Yep. Yes, and I want to do that too. We were going to do that too. We were going to do stickers, caps, the whole thing. Yeah, it's the number of colors. That's the problem. Yeah, and the yoga pants are bomber, man. They're awesome. They're awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking the long sleeves are going to be 60. I'm thinking that's what they're gonna come out at. I'm not sure that includes shipping or not. I'll have to see. I have to reprice everything because I had all that finished and now it's not finished because it didn't work out. So I have to redo it. Okay. Do you guys got any questions? I was going to finish up some slides. We're almost at 15 minutes yet. That's okay, Stacy. It's okay. You don't need to make a poll. Just email me, folks. Shoot me an email if you want a t-shirt or yoga pants, and I will figure it out. I will figure it out. That's amazing. That's amazing. We're just going to do press-ons for these, but they're brilliant. Yeah, it's really high quality stuff. Yeah. Back to the drawing board. Here we go. Okay. What slide are we on? We've got 52. Let's see how many slides we got. We got 15 minutes left. Should I just stay in chat? Let me look at how many slides we got left. I'm on 52 there. I just finished. Let's see. We're going here. So I finished that one just now. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, way too many for the night. Okay. So I'm not going to try. We'll come back to it. We'll either finish a bit early, or you know what, guys? I could play some music for you. I could play that music I wasn't going to play. I could play it for you as we finish up here. But let's go to comments and see if you guys got any further questions. Yeah, right on. Thank you. Awesome. I'd love to sell it to you. Would love to sell it to you. Love to say it to you. You got your It's been a while, Max. It's been a while. I actually had a bad run-in last year before the cruise. I was real excited. I was going to get my haircut for the cruise to go out to be with my parents, have it styled. And the gal cut off like freaking 18 inches. So I was really bummed last summer. So I'm regrowing it out now. It's not to the length I want it now. I want it longer. But we'll get there. You're welcome. Play that. You want to play the funky music? I'll play the funky music, man. I'll tell you what. We'll close out with the music and then I'll play the Zen thing. You guys want that? It's fun. It's a great song. Jenny freaked out. She loved it. I didn't play it on the intro because it's a little too upbeat and I wanted a little bit mellow going into it. So, but it's an awesome song and I put these awesome graphics to it. So it's really It's really cool. It's been over 20 years for me. Yeah. I stopped cutting it when I left the church. So I left the church in, 2013. Yeah. So since 2013, I haven't really cut it. I haven't cut it short since about 2013. Are you guys ready? Let's play some music. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Hope you guys have a great week. If you're on the Zoom list, I'll send you this week's slide this week, as well as the list for the or the slides from the Zen. And then I will send you the invite for the Zoom so that you get your invitations. I really appreciate y'all's being here. I really do. I have a GoFundMe. If you want to donate or anything to me, that's great. I have a GoFundMe. You can make donations there. If my work has impacted you and you'd like to give to me, I'd really appreciate it. You can give to me at my GoFundMe. And then also, GoFundMe I use also for buying the swag. But just email me first before you put any money in the GoFundMe for embroidery, because there's a method we need to follow. But yeah, so if you want to support my work, I've got a GoFundMe, and then also buy some swag, and then I'll try and get the swag worked out for you ASAP. I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll get it done. All right, I'll play this music for you. Hope you guys like it. It's a little upbeat, but I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Okay, let's get there and get it done. You guys ready? I can't believe I'm going to do this. Here we go. Get ready.
Beat me up, Scotty. Scotty. Wrong planet. Wrong party. Beat me up, Scotty.
I'm done with it.
Walked in, dress code chaos, red cups, dead eyes. Same talk, somebody spilled secrets on the floor. Same joke, same laugh. I'm bored.
Beat me up, Scotty.
Wrong planet, wrong party. Everyone here feels copy-paste. I'm reaching out in this crowded space.
Beat me up, Scotty. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Bathroom line, fake smiles, blue light, scroll lives, stage lives, stage back, that's that DJ, steep, it got you, I'm how to stare. Praying for an end, get me a
I'm done with it.
Wrong planet, wrong party. Everyone here feels copy-paste. I'm glitching out in this crowded space.
Beat me up, Scotty. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Somewhere out there, my people laugh weird, dance off beat, talk too deep, too fast, too free. If you can hear me, lock on my signal, pull me out the scene. Hey!